What up, what up, what up? We are back. College basketball heat check. Been gone for a little bit of time. My co host will be on in about 30 minutes, but we're going to go ahead and get started a little bit early today. Have a special guest from the HBCU coaching ranks, Division One, and not only is he a good basketball coach, but man, is he a heck of a leader and a man about purpose. So super excited to have Coach Murray Garvin on. He led a movement just the beginning of this month that I would love for him to talk about before we talk about his program. So we're going to bring Coach Garvin in the studio. Coach G, how you doing?
Hey, doing good, man. Doing good. Sitting here in the hotel room in Greensboro, North Carolina, getting ready for our last regular season game tomorrow against the conference champion, North Carolina A&T. So got my hands full, man, but wanted to take time to just share. I appreciate the invitation to come on College Basketball Heat Check and just drop some gems, hopefully, that someone can benefit from or encourage another coach or a family that is trying to get things done amongst COVID right now.
No doubt, no doubt. We'll tip things off, Coach, and just talk about the National Coaches Day of Prayer that started this year. Was on the first and had a enormous amount of participation from coaches at all levels all across the country. So talk a little bit about your involvement in that and talk a little bit about how you thought it went as far as success.
Well, first of all, to the National Day of Prayer was something that actually came to me, you know, during the course of the year. Brian, I had a tough stretch, man. We're currently probably in my 24 years of coaching. I'm in my toughest season that I've ever had, especially as the head coach here at South Carolina State. We got a late start to our season. Our young men did not report to campus until early October. That was around the first time that we got to practice. We had 10 new players to Division One basketball. Didn't really get to meet them. It was online recruiting. If you have 10 new players online recruiting and they don't report until October, you're in for a tough year. And we definitely had a tough start. As many of you know, this level, you play a lot of guarantee games. We were fortunate to avoid the COVID bug early in the season. And at one point, we had played the most games, I believe, in Division One. There was a point that we had 12 basketball games, and nobody else in our conference had played more than 8 or 7 games at that time. So we've had a rough start. To get to the Day of Prayer, I got to tell you that because that's what led up to it. We had a perfect record, man. We were about 0-14 at the time. 0-14. I was having sleepless nights. I wasn't a very good husband. I was isolating myself. And one morning, the good Lord just put on my heart that I needed to do something, and it was bigger than my scope of friends. During the course, before the season started, I hosted what I called an encouragement call every Thursday night. And I would average about 25 to 30 coaches, teachers, high school, professional coaches. We would have probably about 30 men and women on this call every Thursday prior to the start of the season. And what God told me about the National Day of Prayer, he said, you got to do something bigger than your scope of friends. So that morning, I texted about 5 influential people in my life that I felt like I call them multipliers. There's got to be people in your life that you can get your vision to, and they can multiply what you have off of the contacts that they have. So I reached out to those 5 people and I told them what God had really showed me. And Tommy Cowell with the Nation of Coaches, now all 5 of them hit me back, but Tommy Cowell with the Nation of Coaches, he called me and he picked my brain. He wanted to know exactly what I was thinking about. And he told me, he said, Coach, I believe that. And give me 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours, and let me see if I can get some people on board with this. The next thing you know, we got Clark Kellogg, we have Pastor Tony Evans, a well renowned minister out of the Dallas, Texas area. And we're on a national day of prayer with, I believe they said the final count may have been close to 400 to 500 coaches from around the world. Coaches, family members. I don't know the makeup of the entire group, but it was a tremendous opportunity just to pray for coaches, their wives, their families, the players that have been involved in this unprecedented year of COVID and basketball, along with
Right.
the social tension that we've had. I just felt like it was a time that people needed to be encouraged
Yep.
and lifted up, man. A lot of people with the month of March, Coach, and you know this,
Yep.
they think it's all hoopla and it's just fun for everybody.
Right.
Well, there's coaches that are going through transition. You pick up or you look at ESPN.com every day, there's a coach that is let go from a job. That not only affects the head coach, that
Yep.
affects the assistant coaches, that
Yep.
affects their families, their children. Everybody goes through a transition, and
Right.
that's not easy. You have players that come to the end of their career. And sometimes, we all preach that, hey, get your education, but a lot of them, their identity is in basketball, unfortunately,
Right.
and their careers come to a close. And for
Right.
the first time, that Gatorade that they reach for, that Powerade that they reach for, it's not going to be free sitting on the bus in the cooler.
Right.
It's going to cost. I tell my guys all the time, you can go to the dollar store and get it for 95 cents, but it's almost expired. But that Gatorade is going to cost you $2.50 or
Right.
$2.99 at the gas station.
Right.
So it's a transition time for college basketball and the industry that we all love. And I just wanted to pray. I just wanted to pray for everyone involved during
Yep.
the month of March and really put a new name on it, March
Right.
Gladness
Right.
instead of
Right.
March Sadness. So,
Yeah.
I felt it went well. It was the first time, but we've got so much feedback. I believe it's going to become an annual event.
Yeah, I was a part of it. Coach Mike Lightfoot reached out to me to just kind of help spread the word too, amongst many others that he did. And I was curious. So I tuned in. It was awesome. Loved every second of it and glad you did it. I was curious to feedback. I would have thought it would have been really positive to want to keep doing it. I was curious
Yeah.
before we move on to SC State. Tell us a little bit about the feedback from the National Day of Prayer.
Well, I got emails from around the country and around the world. I actually received an email from a coach in Ireland that was tuned in. That kind of blew me away,
Wow.
that people are paying attention from all over the world. And, it's going to become an annual event. This year was the first time. We ended up running into some technical difficulties there at the end. But the Nation of Coaches have informed me that Pastor Evans re-recorded his message and they're going to package it and they're going to put it out, all together again. So they're going to get that cleaned up. And I'm sure next year, if we're not we're going to be through COVID-19. I believe it's going to be something where we all may be sitting in a studio or, you learn from the first time. But I just feel like it's going to grow. And as long as we get the word out, I just think the sky's the limit. And it's something that we all look forward to and is needed during this month of March.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Coach. So let's talk about your program. And then also, if you don't mind, so tell the people about SC State. You've been there, I believe, 6 years as the head coach. And tell the people about what you think also about the new kind of energy around HBCUs. I think Chris Paul has done an incredible job when the playoffs were going on in a bubble of honoring different HBCUs with kind of his gear going into each game. It became a thing social media wise. And then now they've done this thing with the Undefeated where they're spotlighting more and more HBCUs, telling more HBCU stories. So I just think it's a beautiful thing that's going on right now. Obviously, Makur Maker decided as a 5-star to go to a HBCU. So there's a lot more national attention that's going on in a positive way with HBCU. So talk a little bit about that, and then also specifically about your institution and your program.
Well, I'll start with South Carolina State. I came here as an assistant coach, I think in 2011, 2012, with no intentions on becoming the head coach here. You know, a lot of times as assistant coaches, we think that there's a certain path to becoming a head coach. And I'm living proof that the only path is what God has for you, He has for you. And I came to South Carolina State just to serve the head coach and do the best job that I possibly could in doing that. And in a year and a half, I ended up being elevated to the head coaching position. And, during that time, just like any job, Brian, I've had highs and lows. Um, During my tenure here at South Carolina State, there was at one point I had 5 presidents in 5 years and something like 6 athletic directors in that time.
Wow.
And I've been blessed to be able to, I guess, hold on to my post during all this change. And the last couple of years, I've had the same AD. The last 3 years, I've had the same AD and president, and things are getting better for the university. They've done a great job of kind of rebranding the university and getting things back on solid ground, both financially, uh, getting us more financially stable, and just really rebranding the university. Most people know South Carolina State for its stellar football program. One of the best players in the NFL right now, Darius Leonard, which is the linebacker with the Indianapolis Colts, and my frat brother, and he's a South Carolina State grad. Javon Hargrave, starting tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles now, is a South Carolina State grad. And the football program has really been the headline of the institution for a long time, on the athletic side. We also got 2017 Miss USA, Kara McCullough, was a graduate of South Carolina State. So I definitely used that as a recruiting tool during that time, that you can come here and meet Miss America, which served us well. Yeah, served us well during that time. But again, it's been a blessing to be a head coach. It's been the most fun that I've ever had. Like I said, I've been in this game for 24 years now, total coaching, 20 on the college level. And prior to that, I did 4 on the high school level. And, the biggest thing I would say in our program is we've done an outstanding job of developing men. Every coach that doesn't win their conference championship, we all want to win one more game. I would love to win more basketball games. I'm trying every day. Every fiber in my body is trying to win a basketball game. Sometimes you're just going to come up short. And I live by the moniker, just make sure you're doing all that you can do. And I'm able to lay my head down at night knowing that my coaching staff and my players are giving their best effort to win. So therefore, you got to have peace of mind and just keep trying to figure it out, how to get to that winner's circle. And that's what we're doing. But over the course of my time here, in 2016, we did play for the conference championship in the tournament, and we came up short to a really well-coached Hampton University team. Since that time, we have struggled, but we've continued to develop men. Our vision statement in our program, Brian, is to graduate men and win championships. We've done an outstanding job of graduating men, but we haven't been able to conquer that conference championship. But again, every fiber in my body works every day to try to get there. It's just sometimes it's not in the cards. But in a conference like the MEAC, it's a 1-bid league.
Right.
So we really preach. It comes down to 5 days in March.
Right.
1 week in March, and you can change your life. So you never lose sight of that, and you just stay locked in, and you try to capture that MEAC tournament, and you can get to the big dance. And it really don't matter what happened during the course of the regular season.
No doubt.
So The second part of that, you asked about Chris Paul and the exposure that
Yep.
he's really brought attention to HBCUs. And I think it all started with the social and racial tensions that we were having during the summer. And I believe it just made a segment of our society realize that HBCUs have been around, most of them, for 100 years or more. And we've been educating African American people on the college level for years. And we've had stellar athletic programs. And then when the schools were integrated, the kind of talent and the attention from HBCUs dropped because now we had more opportunities to go to larger schools. And of course, everybody was chasing exposure. Well, with Chris Paul and what he's done with the undefeated, the program that is airing now, Why Not Us, about the North Carolina Central program. I got tremendous respect for what those guys are doing up there in Durham, and what Chris Paul and Stephen A. Smith and the North Carolina Central basketball program is bringing attention to the plight of HBCU basketball. And I would just tell people, man, there's a lot of really great coaches that do not get the publicity that the major schools get. I would put coaches in our conference, Eric Skeeter, Robert Jones at Norfolk State, you know, my man that's at Howard, his name doesn't slip my mind. I knew that would happen.
Dylan Howard.
Uh, no, he's at Alabama A&M.
Oh,
But
I'm
I'm
sorry.
talking about, yeah, I'm talking about in the MEAC at our conference. You know, Juan Dixon at Coppin State, the job that he's done. And I can go on and on. Will Jones at North Carolina A&T. Right now he's got the belt in the regular season. And, of course, Lavelle Moten. Most people know him. And I can Ryan Ritter at Bethune-Cookman, Robert McCullough at FAMU, my man at Grambling that has done an outstanding job rebuilding their program. There's coaches in the HBCU world that can really coach this game and can really mentor and teach young people. And to most of us, if not all of us, it's bigger than just basketball. It's bigger than basketball. We're really about developing young men, nurturing the next generation, and making sure that they're ready for life when the ball goes flat. So, again, I appreciate Chris Paul and what those guys are doing. And I just think HBCUs really have a story to tell. And I would just encourage athletes coming out of high school and the junior college ranks and prep school ranks to really give a hard look, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes you got to water it more. Think about that. But going to a HBCU can be very rewarding. I tell people, Brian, I'm not a graduate, but I produce them.
Right. I like
Right.
that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Before we let you go, Coach, tell us a little more about your program that you want people to know that maybe they don't know. And then lastly, if you have any funny story you can share during this pandemic or within your program, please include that too.
Oh man, you had to give me a second on funny stories because there hadn't been a whole lot to laugh about for me right now.
Right.
But I would say something I'd like people to know about South Carolina State. Again, we're graduating about 98% of the young men that stay in our program for 2 years or longer. It's a great institution. We're one of the only HBCUs, if not the only HBCU, that actually has a nuclear engineering program. Um, we're looking for young men, Brian, that have great character and great skill and coachability. We understand that you're not going to have everything coming in the door. Now, we want those kids to have everything, and we can coach those kids that have everything. But if we got to take a young man and develop him, um, we don't mind doing that. We don't mind doing that. I tell people, they ask, what do you look for in recruiting? I said, let's be honest. The first thing is he has to be good enough. Okay. Right after we establish that he has the skill level to come in and be an impact here, the next thing that I assess is, can he do the academic work? Can that young man be successful in the classroom at our institution? because if you have the skill and you're not able to do the classwork, we're going to have a struggle. And this past year, in the fall semester, our team averaged a 3.3 GPA. I take that very seriously. I'm trying to graduate young men that go out here and be good citizens and be good fathers and husbands when the ball goes flat. And most of them are going to go pro in something besides basketball. So we want to make sure that we develop you as a young man in the classroom, in your character, in your citizenship, and just what it requires, man, to keep the lights on and keep food on the table when you're required to do that for your family one day. And we're going to make sure that guys are prepared for life after basketball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I'll bring my co-host, my esteemed co-host in the studio. We always ask the funny story, Coach. So if you don't have one, we can always try to make one up. But
no. Well,
it doesn't even have to be with your team. It can be with your family. It can be something that's happened during the pandemic. Just entertain us with a funny story. We like to lighten the mood before people go.
Okay. Well, I will. I'll tell you one that I'm working on right now.
Okay.
All right. I told my guys, okay, just yesterday in practice, I got tired of them when someone gets a dunk, they flex, or they're saying someone's too small, or they're carrying a baby. When they hit a three, they're putting their threes up in the air and they're skipping down the court.
Right.
And I said, guys, what if when you score, I say, I drew that up, baby. That's on me. And I said, yeah, heck of a play, coach. Keep on running it. Woo! And look now. So my assistant coach comes to me and he said, Coach, man, that should be on a movie or something. I said, guys, it is. That came from Coach Carter. And he said, Coach.
Who's Coach Carter?
Who's Coach Carter? Most of the guys weren't even born when that movie came out.
Wow.
I said, Coach, we just came from practice, Brian. We are clipping that scene off of YouTube, and we're going to show that to our team tonight in our final film session.
I love it.
Do y'all remember the scene where he says,
oh, absolutely.
I drew that play up.
Yep.
I tied that bow. Look at that. We're going to show that to the team tonight. So that's going to be funny because when I said, guys, it came from Coach Carter, they looked at me like, what are you talking about? So, the generation gap is unbelievable, man, but you got to constantly, I'll say this before I go. As a coach, you have to constantly try to figure out how to connect with the generation that you are coaching. Now, a key word is connect, not compromise, connect. It requires what it requires. There's no change in that. But sometimes as coaches, when we get a little gray hairs on our face or in our hair, we think that our way is the only way. And you can lose kids. But with the tough season that we've had here at South Carolina State, with playing 2 games in the month of February, my guys are still showing up for extra sessions. They're still putting in the work. They're still going to the training room and get treatment. We've had very little discipline issues. I'm not going to say it's been 100%. We've had very small, minute problems. And I truly believe it's because my coaching staff and myself work extremely hard on connecting with our guys. So I just want to encourage coaches to keep trying to connect, understand where these young people are coming from, and, meet them at where they're at and then try to take them higher. And that's what we try to do. Not judge them on where they come through the door, but actually meet them where they're at and then try to elevate their character on and off the floor.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Coach, for taking the time. We know you're preparing for an important game and getting ready for March and you guys' tournament. So thanks so much for what you did for all coaches and all across the globe with your idea with Nation of Coaches to do the National Day of Prayer, and wishing you guys nothing but the best, not only this season, but in the off season with recruiting and going forward, Coach.
Well, thank you, Brian, and good luck to you and all your endeavors, man. Really respect what you're doing. and how you're being creative and still impacting the game. So
Thank you.
kudos to you. Anything that I can do for you in the future, please reach out. And I live by this motto: together we win. So y'all have a great night.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Coach.
Thank
Yeah, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. You can see why he is the renowned leader and motivational speaker and coach that he is. And again, just can't give enough credit for having the foresight and the vision to want to do something bigger than himself, to be able to, unite the country in this National Day of Prayer. So really cool there. We'll let my man Eli. What's up, E? Good to have you, man.
Yeah, it's nice to hop in and catch the tail end of that. Cool perspective, and I'm glad you touched a little bit on kind of the HBCU, shining some light on that, because I think that's really important, and just some of the things that their program's done, and the Coach Carter thing was phenomenal. I still remember, real quick, the first time that I realized that a player on my TV screen was someone who was younger than me, and I was like, "Oh man, like, this is different. This is a different sort of deal." But yeah, it was really good. I'm glad they got a win, a much needed win recently. And as he said, like, all it takes is a few good days in March, and everything changes. So we'll definitely be rooting for him and that squad and what they've been doing.
Yeah, for sure. So before we bring on our next guest, would love for you to talk about your impressions so far of the LMU squad there on the West Coast in California. Brand new head coach, brand new staff. Coach Johnson has done a tremendous job to be in the top 3 in that league, and playing some elite level basketball, considering, year one is usually the hardest year when you get a new job. So talk a little bit about them before we bring in Coach Stan Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a phenomenal job this year, and being top 3 in the WCC, that's a really big deal. This is a league that I think still doesn't get enough credit as it deserves. Obviously, a lot of the headlines go to Gonzaga and BYU and St. Mary's, but LMU is right there. And the way that this tournament is set up, a lot of these teams can do some damage if they get the right matchups. So it's been a really impressive year for this team, especially, as you said, in year one, especially in a year one where you're dealing with more than just trying to coach a basketball team. You're also trying to do damage control and make sure that everything is all straight as far as health and safety and getting these games played. A lot of teams have had trouble just getting games played, let alone winning them. So a lot of credit to that program and that whole staff and what they've done this year. And I'm excited to bring Coach on and chat a little bit about his team.
Yeah, so without further ado, we'll bring on Stan Johnson, head coach at LMU. Stan, what's up, Coach?
What's up, man, guys? How we doing?
Hey, Coach.
Doing good, man. Doing good. Good to have you, man. So she's doing good, man. She's doing good. I appreciate you asking, Coach. How's your family doing? You're still at 2 right now, right? Brooklyn and
I got a 5-year-old, Braylon. So
yeah, Brooklyn and Braylon, right?
Well, Brooklyn, Miles, and Braylon. So we have 3. Yeah,
Oh, you do have 3.
Yeah, he's 5, so he's the youngest.
I like it, Coach. So before we get, what do you say?
They had 2.
Exactly. So before we get too much into the basketball stuff, how do you balance the family life? I know that's important to you. Most people don't know. I got a chance to work with you on the staff at Utah for a year. You put up with me. God bless you for that. And no, it was a good time. And I know family is important to you. So tell the people, how do you manage both when you are a head coach?
Well, I don't know if I've figured out how to do both.
Right.
It's hard when you do this and you get in this profession. When you get in the profession, really, it's everybody has to be committed to it because it takes so much of your time. And I'm lucky that my family's committed to it. You try to be present as much as you can when you're home, which is important. And, this year's been tough because, of COVID, family can't come to games. My kids can't come to practice and do some things that they normally would do.
Yep.
They would be around a lot more and active and involved. So we're looking forward to that when, my oldest son, especially Miles, who's into ball, can travel with the team and hang out and be at practice and do that. That's one way to make up for all the time that you lose. But that's kind of how I try to do it.
Yep, absolutely. Coach, so you have a tremendous staff there, 2 other guys on staff that have been head coaches at a high level, along with yourself, who's been at numerous high-level programs. Talk a little bit about the staff. Talk a little bit about how you laid this foundation and what was your biggest things you wanted to set out, because we know year one is normally about laying a foundation. So to be able to lay a foundation and win has been really, really impressive. So talk a little bit about how you've kind of gone about this.
Yeah, I just, for me, I believe you're as good as the people you surround yourself with. And, I was fortunate to really get some great people around me. That's how you win. And I didn't want to be surely the smartest guy on the staff. I wanted people who had been in the foxhole and, guys that have done it, guys that have been in my seat, guys that were still hungry. And, I really believe in collaboration. This is not a dictatorship. And, I give my guys a lot of freedom. But the one thing I tell our whole staff, no opinions without research. So that being said, these guys do a lot for me. They help me run the program, help me organize it. They give me great advice. And, like I said, I think the more intelligent people you can be around, the better you are. And I did not want to be in a room where I was the smartest guy in the room. And I'm very fortunate to have, two guys who have been head coaches, David Carter and Alan Edwards, and two guys that did a tremendous job. And I've got some other guys on my staff, Ricky Munch, my ops guy, and Greg Jankowski, who will be head coaches. So I'm very fortunate that way. And that's kind of how I wanted to put it together.
Yeah, and Coach, speaking a little bit about this year's team and your first year there and kind of making this all work, how has this team come together? What is the chemistry like, and what's kind of the dynamic with everyone on this roster?
Well, I mean, it's always hard when there's a coaching change, and a philosophy change and a culture change. And our guys have done a good job of buying into it. They really have at a high level. And we've established a winning culture here. And that's not just based on what's happening on the floor. I'm talking about how we live, how we operate, how we communicate, how we think. And it's why with 2 COVID pauses, I mean, just a crazy amount of injuries to marquee guys. I mean, we've had maybe our second most talented player, a guy would have been first or second all team, WCC, Damian Douglas, who, only played in 4 conference games this year. And if you would have told me we wouldn't have had Damian Douglas and we would have finished 3rd in the league, I would have said, you're crazy. The reason we've been able to do that is because guys have really fought and bought into the culture. And when you have that, good things can happen. And part of that culture is camaraderie and chemistry. And, we've developed that and fighting for each other. And that's really been the thing I think we've done the best so far.
And how do you, as a staff, try to maybe reorient the team when you do have these distractions like the COVID pauses or the injuries? What do you do as a staff to make sure that everyone maintains their focus so they can stay on track for the common goal?
Yeah, I always say, and even in the regular season or any season in life, nonetheless, nothing is going to be won or accomplished on plan A. You're not going to win a championship on plan A. You're not going to have great success in life on plan A. You got to have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G. And, we were very organized before we had a COVID pause. We knew it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And we had a plan in place when this hit us, what our weeks would look like. And when those things happened, we went into full implementation mode where, we would spend every day going through a facet of our program in the morning. It could be pick and roll offense one day, could be pick and roll defense the next day. We would have a culture meeting. We'd have a game night. Our guys would all get on Zoom. We got weights and exercise bikes put in each room where they could still condition. And we just did it that way. We got mental reps. And, we try to do everything the same as we would if we were practicing physically, even from a scheduling and timing perspective. So that's how we dealt with it. We just prepared and we had a plan every day for how we wanted to get better and how we want to improve for when we got back to practice.
And as far as the individuals on this team, Eli Scott being one of the all WCC guys, you have other players on this roster who are honorable mentions. Who has, maybe stood out or who has taken some really big developmental leaps this season that has contributed to why you're in third place in the WCC?
Well, I think every single guy on our team has really gotten better, and every single guy on our team has improved. And it's easy to see we finished third, and we're doing some good things on the court. But we had the highest GPA in the history of the program. I'm proud of that. Those are things that goes far beyond the game, and that's something that's going to impact our guys for the rest of their lives. Our guys have not only excelled on the court, they've excelled off the court. Every single guy has gotten better in the classroom, on the court. Eli, it's not a surprise he's first team all league. Eli's, I think he weighs like 228 right now. When I took the job in March, he was like 270. He's made a commitment to change his diet. I can go on and on with everybody on our team. We have a kid, Jalen Anderson, who's a point guard who was all freshman WCC. The growth he has shown from day one to now on the court, running a team, has been incredible. And, that's kind of the effort and the buy-in we've had. And when you have that kind of buy-in, change happens. And, I'm proud of our guys for how they've approached it, how they have tacked everything I've asked them to do, our staff's asked them to do, and we're reaping the benefits of that. We're still nowhere where we want to be as a program. But, we feel like we're really on our way.
And what would you say would contribute to getting where you want to be as a program? Because you mentioned that and the strides that you've taken in the first year and still obviously not being satisfied, what needs to maybe happen to reach to that level?
Well, we got to continue to develop as basketball players here. We got to become a much better shooting team. We've got to become a much better defensive team. We've got to continue to recruit the right type of guys to fit our program. That's how you get better. And, we've got to be a program that's consistent. And, being in the top three one time, that's not the goal. We want to stay here and we want to push for championships. We want to become a team that can play in the NCAA tournament and do great things. That's our goal. And as of today, we're not there yet. We've accomplished a lot of things on the way, but there's a lot bigger things that we want to get done as a program. But we want to be a program of substance, a program that's going to be around in this league for a long time.
And speaking of the league, of course, everyone speaks of Gonzaga and just the way that they've been able to perform this year and obviously in years past. I still think it's a really deep league overall. What are kind of your thoughts about now that you've settled into this position and competed against a lot of these teams? What are your thoughts about the league at large?
Yeah, Gonzaga gets a lot of credit, which they should. What they're doing this year and what they've done throughout their history speaks for itself. But to not go further than that would be lazy. We have a great league, and this league has some big-time coaches. Mark Few is going to be a Hall of Famer. You've got guys like Herb Sendek, Lorenzo Romar, Randy Bennett, guys that have had tremendous success, not only in the WCC, but at some high-level places. And I really believe you have, some of the young up-and-comers in our business. Some of the, years from now, we're going to look back and go, my goodness, I can't believe this guy's where he's at. We've got some of the best young coaches in the game. And you've got some great players and some storied programs. And I really believe this is one of the better leagues in the country. And I don't think it gets the level of respect that it rightfully deserves.
And you mentioned the great coaches in this conference, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. And your staff is obviously no exception. The credentials that the guys on your staff have had being former head coaches. Maybe if you could take us a little bit behind the scenes and what that looked like in terms of assembling this staff and maybe some of the boxes that you like to check with, maybe the culture fit or some of the different things that you see in some of these coaches.
Yeah, like I said, when I started, and I got the job. I mean, before I got the job, over the last 8 years, I've been, planning my program systematically, what I wanted it to look like, who I wanted to be around. So I already had an idea what I wanted. And for me, I wanted, at least one guy who had been a head coach, um, who was hungry, who could do it all. And I had no idea I was going to be able to get both Alan and Dave. And as I talked to a lot of guys around the country, and it became clear these were two guys that I would have the opportunity to hire, and I'm glad I did that. But I wanted guys that were well-rounded, guys that could coach, guys that could develop, guys that were humble, guys that understood how to build relationships, guys that, when you walked in the office every day, you loved being around, and guys that were eager for more. And I feel like we put that kind of staff together, a staff that really complements each other, a staff that challenges each other. I wanted to be challenged. Even as a head coach, I didn't want any yes men on my staff. And I feel like we have that. These guys challenge me every day. I challenge them. But when we leave a meeting, when we leave a room, we're committed to whatever plan is in front of us. And, I'm really fortunate that way, to be able to land who we wanted and the types of people we wanted, So the best thing about this staff is there's so much humility, and no one cares who gets the credit. No one's fighting each other. There's no my recruit. There's no my scout. We all do it together. It's a collaboration. And I've been places sometimes where it's not like that. And the one thing I would say, when you have that, the kids see through all that. The smartest guys in the room are players. And sometimes as coaches, we ask our players to be connected and be selfless. But then as coaches, we're not always into the right things.
Right.
Our staff's not perfect, but we certainly don't care who gets the credit. We're all about results and developing and coaching our guys.
Yeah, Coach, they talked about some things during your game against Gonzaga. One of the things they highlighted is you guys being 7-3 in games that are decided in 5 points or less, which is really impressive because that's a close game. That takes coaching, that takes chemistry, that takes all those things you just talked about, and also just being one of the top 100 teams in the net, as far as that goes. So many things that you've done in a short amount of time. What would you attribute those things to? And then what would you want people to know about the LMU program that maybe they don't get to know? They also highlighted how much you've done a great job on social media and brought energy and life to the program, and around the LA city is buzzing because of partly because of LMU, and there's a buzz about LMU within the city that has a lot of other stuff going on, and they attribute a lot of that to your energy and your staff's energy on social media. So what would you want people to know about the program, and what do you attribute to things like being able to win, be 7-3, have a 70% win percentage in games that are decided by 5 points or less?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of it is obviously a little luck. You got to get lucky a little bit. But, I think the more organized you are and the more detailed you are, the luckier you get. And I really believe that. And, I've said this, I was very fortunate to work under some tremendous head coaches, guys that I really respect. And, I've taken so much from them, things that I love that they did and things maybe I felt like I would do different. And I've over the last 7 or 8 years, I've developed every aspect of my program. And I didn't know what program that would be. I didn't even know if I would get a chance to lead a program. But if I did, I wanted to be organized. And I think when you talk about being 7-3 in games decided with 5 points or fewer, in our program, we call that winning time, the last 4 minutes. And, there's, every day in practice, we talk about that. We work on it. We work on the last 4 minutes. We talk about execution in the last 4 minutes, not only offensively, but defensively. And we talk about, the type of connection that's needed to win a game like that. So those are things that we practice, we talk about constantly. In terms of, the social media, and those things. I wanted to generate and create a buzz. You know, I felt like Loyola Marymount is this beautiful school tucked away here in LA. And, you know, I didn't think our light was shining enough. We have a lot to sell. We have a lot to offer. And people are not going to be connected with things they don't know about. And if they don't feel like they know you. And I wanted people to get to know us. And one of the fastest way to do that is through social media. And especially in this day and age, you got to have a buzz. You have to have something that people are attracted to. Everybody around here gets sick of me saying it. You know, I always use the word pop. I want everything we do to have some pop to it. And, you know, we found someone here who's Will Hamner. He is a student here, business marketing major, who is next level in his videography. And what he has had as much of an impact on our program as anybody. And the videos you see him pumping out are obviously things that I think about and I throw his way, and he takes it. What I ask him to do, he makes it 18 times better than what I wanted. But that's been a big part of us, you know, trying to create the type of buzz and pop in a market that is hard. You got the Lakers, you got the Clippers, you got the Rams, you got the Chargers. There's so much going on. You know, we want to find creative ways to get other people's attention. Now that's good, but it doesn't matter if you don't win. You know, if you can win and you can have that kind of artistic, creative side to it, to mesh it together, and you have a chance to get the attention of people.
Yeah, it's so important to be able to tell your story, you know, and I think you guys are doing a tremendous job of that and making it exciting, which is what kids care about these days, and parents. Talk about, Coach, we just finished Black History Month. You guys chose to do some things cool with your jerseys, allowing guys to still be able to kind of have a voice. A lot of stuff with social unrest and social injustice. You were pretty vocal and outspoken in a lot of positive ways during that time. Let's just face it, it's hard to become a head coach who's Black in college basketball during this time, and not just college basketball, but talk a little bit about what it means to be able to have the position you have. Obviously, we lost some pioneers, John Thompson, John Chaney. NABC did a great job with the movement, with the towels and the whole thing. But there's something that you've done there, and with empowering your players and having your own voice being heard. Just anything you want to share. I don't want to make it put in a box. Just anything for you in that position.
You know, obviously we're in some incredible times, but I don't think it's. You know, I think social media has exposed a lot of what's happening. You know, I think that the ability to have a phone camera has exposed a lot of what's been happening for a long time. And as terrible as it is, I'm glad it's coming out. I'm glad that this is getting the right attention that it deserves. You know, even though it hurts, we can't move forward until we deal with it. And the worst kind of racism to deal with is the hidden kind, because you don't know how to attack it. At least we know this is out front, and we can now systematically deal with it. You know, I'm very fortunate to be in the position I have. You know, if it wasn't for guys like Coach Chaney and Coach Thompson, I mean, Nolan Richardson, Tubby Smith, I mean, so many guys that have, you know, we stand on the shoulders of, you know, that I want to make proud. But I hope that, you know, I can have great success where it opens the door for other people. You know, there's a lot of talented African-American coaches out there. And sometimes we get pigeonholed and we get put in a box, and, you know, you get called a recruiter and, you know, the energy guy and all this. And, you know, I tell people all the time, don't ever let somebody label you. You're a leader, and we're capable of a lot more, and we have to do that. And I understand that, you know, we have to recruit and we have to bring the energy and we have to do all that, but we've got to make sure we're doing everything in our role in order to give us the best chance. And then when you get the opportunity, you have to be ready, you have to be organized, and then you have to attack it. And you know, I'm proud to be sitting here. I'm proud to be in this position. It's not something I take lightly. But I also, you know, I want to give our guys a voice. And, you know, I allowed, you know, our kids to pick a word that resonated with them, that they wanted to talk about, and they had to explain to me what it meant to them before I let them do it. And we have a lot of international guys, and I allow them to, they also had a chance to pick their word. And sometimes, there's a lot going on in the world, some of the countries they come from that we're unaware of. There's a lot of things that those kids and their families and their friends and their communities are dealing with as well. And I wanted them to have a chance to voice that with whatever word they chose. So that's kind of how we came up with the black jerseys and the wording behind it.
Awesome. I'll bring Eli back in here too. What would you say if you had to say one thing, Coach, that's like, obviously you had this plan. I worked with you, so I knew you were going to be a head coach. I'll be honest with you. You were on point then and still on point now, and I'm proud of everything you're doing. What would you say is one area that you maybe even exceeded what you set out to do? Naturally, you wanted to be good. You wanted to do all this stuff as a head coach, but to be third in that league ahead of a program like St. Mary's, ahead of San Francisco, who beat Virginia earlier this year. Damon Stoudemire's done a tremendous job to be ahead of those guys. And this is no knock to anyone else, but as a competitor to come in and do that in year one is really impressive. So what would you say can actually say, I'm proud that we were able to accomplish this. I didn't know if we'd be able to do this fast.
I'm proud of what we've done. And, the thing I'm most proud of, Brian, is the culture we've established. And I keep saying that, and culture gets thrown around so much in our business, culture, family, it's like, buzzword. But it really isn't to me, and it's not to our program. And if you could come here and live it and see it, I'm really proud of that. In 11 months, we've come a long way, a really long way. I can't tell you how proud I am of it. But the people who know me, and I say this humbly, and, they all think I'm crazy. There's not a day I've sat here and go, man, wow, we're third. There's been many days I've said, gosh, we had a chance to win 2 or 3 more games in our league and we let it slip.
Right.
And I need to find the balance in that.
Right.
Sometimes I drift more that way, because I want more and I don't want to settle. And that's no disrespect to what we've done. And I'm proud of it. But I spent more time going, gosh, we had, 3 games that we lost by 3 points where we had the ball at the end and a chance to win. I think about that more and being better and what position we would have been had we done that. And that's probably a sick way to think. But I want greatness for our team and our program. And some of my close friends continue to remind me, you can't do everything overnight. And I need to understand that. But I didn't put any limits on this team when I got the job. I never said one time that, guys, if we could just, not finish 8th or 7th where they picked us, it'd be a great year. I told our team there's greatness in the room, and I believe in it. And we can go as far as we want to. And that's been my message. But to do that, we're going to have to change and do a lot of things, and it's going to be hard. So I'm not surprised that this group of guys are where they're at. Our players deserve all the credit, every single bit of it. I'm not surprised at all. And, I really don't believe that our story's done yet. But, I am proud of our culture and what we've established in a very short time.
Awesome stuff, Coach. Awesome stuff. Appreciate you coming on. I'll let Eli kind of close us out. We usually got a tradition we like to do before you go.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll go with the 2-parter here real quick. First one, going back to what Brian mentioned, I remember your senior staff, do these coaching clinics over the summer. Everyone on your staff, I believe, hosted one. First part of the question is, what role do you think you serve as a coach to these players beyond just winning games and cutting down nets, things like that? What purpose do you think that serves? And then also the final part, which we always wrap it up, is maybe it ties together. What's a funny story or something enjoyable about this team that you've had either this season or maybe some of your prior stops in coaching?
Yeah. That's a good question. For me, I didn't get into coaching to see how many games we could win. And I mean that. And I think the kids that I've been fortunate to be around as an assistant coach, whether it was at Utah, Southwest Baptist, Bemidji State, Drake, Arizona State, Marquette, and now here would tell you that we talk a lot more about life, I'm on them a heck of a lot more about school and becoming great fathers and men. And, it's our job. Sometimes in a lot of these guys' lives, we become the last line of mentors that they'll see and they'll have. And that's a huge responsibility. That being said, nobody loves to win more than I do. But I think coaches should be judged 20 years down the line, 30 years. What kind of people do your players become after they leave your program? And that's a representation of who you are. So I take that very, very seriously. And I'm on my guys. I'm really hard on them about a lot of things, a lot of little things, because those things are the difference between a guy being successful as a human being in advancing in the world, not in basketball. And that's the ultimate job of a coach, is to help take young men to a place they can't take themselves. And I will never, ever, it will never be about you coming here to LMU and helping me win games. And it's all about us making you better. And I don't want to ever be a guy where we use a kid and we win a lot of games and he doesn't graduate, he doesn't turn out to be great. That's not what I'd rather lose than do that. I really would. So I believe that's, the power of coaching. In terms of a fun story, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's so many. I think my guys thought I was nuts with all the things that I asked them to do, the stickler that I can be, and all the details. But what's been so funny, you go on the road and you win a game in San Francisco and you only have 6 guys because of injuries, and our point guard fouls out and we win, right? And it's a culture win. And, we go back to the hotel and I'm kind of giving them, all right, guys, here's the plan for tomorrow as we travel in BYU. And, everybody's yes, yes, yes. I mean, they're like, so like they go from this dude's kind of crazy to, all right, maybe this stuff can work. All shaking their head, nodding. And that's what winning does. It kind of puts a stamp on the things you're trying to ask them to do. So that's been fun to watch, how they've changed that way. So that's been pretty cool. They used to think I was crazy, and now they think, it's working. So
I have a question, Coach. Do you have anybody on your team that does any impersonations of you?
Oh,
do you have that guy?
Yeah, they all do. They also call me the oldest, youngest person they've ever met. Eli Scott told me that yesterday. He said,
that sounds right.
They were talking about something. I didn't know what it was. He said, man, you're the oldest, youngest dude I know. So they like to clown me, which is good.
I like it. That means you have some fun.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Coach. Well, any last words before you go, man? Good luck in the WCC tournament. Congrats on the year. Super proud of you, man. Thanks so much for coming on. It means a lot to us. And any last words you got before you go?
I don't have much. I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you for looking out for our program. You guys are doing a great job, man. This thing's going to take off. There's no doubt about it. And when time permits and we get back to moving forward, I don't like to say going backwards. You guys got to come spend some time with us.
Yeah, would love to.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay, man. Good luck the rest of the way, Coach. Tell us family hello too.
I will. You do the same. See you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we always let Eli wrap up our guest before we go to the next one, so we'll let him talk a little bit about LMU and Coach Johnson.
Yeah, that was a fun one. LMU is a program on the rise, and another one of these situations where it feels like the team is well ahead of schedule. And Coach Johnson wouldn't tell you that. He's clearly has this chip on his shoulder and wants his team to get better every day. And everyone says that, but only certain coaches can accomplish that, and certain coaching staffs can do that. And he's got a great one. This is a team that I identified over the summer as one that could maybe sneak up on some teams with the collective experience that they have on their coaching staff. Alan Edwards, the job that he did at Wyoming, just really intelligent guys in that room, and you got really good players too. Eli Scott can get baskets, and Kelly Leopepe is definitely one of Heat Check staff's favorite players. Just a really electric guy who can do some really fun things. So it's a potential team to watch, and as is the theme this time of year, you only need to be good for 120, 160 minutes, and everything changes pretty quickly. So it's a team to watch, and always great to have Coach Johnson coming up and chatting with us.
Yeah, I'm really sad. I meant to ask him about his player's hair. I meant to ask him. Best hair
Yeah.
in college basketball. I dropped the ball on that one, but we'll have him back on. I'll get to ask him next time. Only so much time for all these awesome guests. So speaking of ahead of schedule, some people may say this gentleman is as ahead of schedule as they could have even predicted. UC Riverside head coach, Coach Mike, many like to call him, already has gotten a Pac-12 win, has already beaten the returning defending champ from last year in their conference, has also beaten the first place team in their conference currently in this league. And, like a lot of these leagues, it's a one-bid league. And they're definitely a team that a lot of people don't want to see in March because of how capable they are. And he's doing a tremendous, tremendous job in year one. Super excited to have Coach Mike on from UC Riverside. So we'll bring him in the studio. Coach, what up, man?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, Coach.
Thanks
You didn't
for
tell me I
joining
was following Coach Johnson.
Well, you didn't ask.
Good thing I make coffee. That guy is high energy. I've been watching great games.
No doubt. We had to keep the West Coast thing going, man. Keep you guys on the West Coast, giving you guys some love, man. We got Eli up in Oregon, and we got you guys in Cali. So
Awesome.
So before we get to the real basketball stuff, the best championship of the season, you had to miss a game for. Talk about the new life being a dad.
I know. I'm in the babies. Usually I have the Zoom where I get to put the fake screen on. I couldn't figure it out with this one. But so you're seeing I'm in the baby's room right now, and it's amazing. As you know, it's been a great 3 months so far, and definitely actually it just calmed me down a little bit, put things in perspective, and I think it made me a better coach. And I think a lot of people would say this, it just makes you a better human being. So
No doubt. Awesome stuff. So talk about, DP, close friend, he takes the job. Did you know it was coming? Did it come out of the blue? And then for you to be able to get the job, I mean, these things are so hard to get, Coach. And I know we talked about this on the phone, being the first coach of full Asian descent to be a Division I head coach. So you're breaking records there, which is amazing. What was that? Take us back to that part of the year, because it's really kind of in the summer. So normally these things can open up and they may give you an interim tag, which is really hard. And we see Coach Isaac Johnson and Terrence Johnson doing elite well with that. But those are really hard situations to be in. And you got named the head coach, and you're the head coach, and it's no interim. So talk a little bit about that before we talk about your team.
Well, I mean, DP set it up completely. And I didn't know, he had – I should have known, because a couple months before that, he made me he promoted me to associate head coach. And as you know, in the coaching industry, I was like, usually you need some sort of leverage, like you have some sort of offer from another place, and maybe that's why they keep you. And I mean, I was just like, wow. I mean, like, I was emotional. I was even back then, I was like, Coach, thanks so much. But maybe he had an inkling that he was, DP, as you guys know, he's known as one of the best recruiters in the country, if not, the best. And so he's always getting offered new positions, and not just, he's been with the Houston Rockets, so he gets offered all kinds of positions. Like, everybody wants DP. He's young, up and coming superstar. And so you always, in the back of my mind, like, you never know, but never did I think Coach Smith, Kyle Smith, my first boss ever, we used to say this all the time, like, there's no bad job, because there's only 350, now there's 357, I believe, Division I programs. And so, like, no, never in my wildest dreams did I think that it would happen like this. But DP, dropped the best dime you could ever drop. So yeah, he told me, he asked me to beers like the day before, and he's like, hey, a couple of days before, and he's like, hey, I think I'm considering this. And I'm like, what? This Arkansas position. And I think that he basically had already talked to the athletic director and said, and I think that she'd give you an opportunity. And so, I mean, it was just set up by DP, who's a point guard, and just, man, he set me up like no other. And they left the cupboard pretty full. We have a good team.
Yeah, that's like an old school GP to Sean Kemp live right there. Just throw it up. I love it. So talk about this. The early success, really, really impressive. So I mean, regardless of where any Pac-12 team is in the standings, when you go play a team that's in the BCS conference, it's a huge, huge thing. My time at Lamar, we were able to beat a Pac-12 team in Oregon State. And it's like an NCAA tournament win, and especially when you first year as a head coach to be able to do that, tremendous hats off to you on that. And then just some of your other victories. Just talk about kind of what those have meant early on and just establishing yourself as a head coach.
Well, my first game was actually University of Washington. So that was my first game a week after we had our baby. And that was really short notice, just scheduled in a 24-hour period because we lost the game against Fresno State that was scheduled. So it didn't give. I think our players were so eager to play a game and so bummed about the cancellation that when I presented Washington to them, they were all in. So we drove to Vegas, which was in the Vegas bubble, and it just didn't give us any time to think. We didn't have time to think. We just went and prepared as fast as we could in a 24-hour period. And obviously got a huge win for my first win. But just again, like, having the baby and all this stuff, it kind of just was a blur. But obviously that gave us a lot of confidence in what we could do. We didn't know, where University of Washington would end up now and whatnot. And then the one that really gave us a lot of confidence was taking USC to overtime. In fact, we had that, we were up 1 with 30 seconds to go and then we had the ball tie game to close out the game with the last shot and then ended up going to overtime. So that just gave the guys confidence. They were a top 15 team on KenPom and everywhere at the time, net. And, it carried over to conference. And what stunk is we had a little pause there at the end of December over Christmas. And that slows a lot of teams down. It's just 14 days, no practices, you're quarantined, you're away from your team. But as we got our legs back in January, we had a big win against UC Irvine, who we had not beaten yet in my first 2 years here. And it was a 21-point win. So that was a big win, just gave the guys confidence. And then we lost a tough one Friday night to UC Santa Barbara. But the guys bounced back and we beat them by double digits on Saturday night. That was our last game. So those are all at this point now. There's just the guys should have full confidence that they can compete and on any given day, like you just said, 120 to 160 minutes in Vegas, March 10th, 11th, 12th, anything can happen. And we think we're right there in the mix.
Yeah. And kind of some of the things that you hinted here, the last second scheduling, getting the game against UW just the last second, the back-to-back, almost taking the first game against UC Santa Barbara and then, showing up in the second one. How do you as a staff maybe react or prepare you guys for that? And how do the players try to adjust to these types of unusual circumstances?
Yeah, we were probably one of the last programs, not except for the Oregon and the ones up there in the Northwest, to get back to campus and start practicing. We came back, we finally got back to campus, started practicing October 1st. So I got the job July 1st. And the first few weeks was obviously about retention. We were able to retain the whole team. We had 100% retention, except one incoming recruit. Actually, Coach Johnson took him to LMU, but that's unexpected. But it gave us an opportunity to give our walk-on a scholarship, which was great. And then so we had to teach through Zoom and coach through Zoom and keep this team together. August, September, finally started practicing October 1st. And when we came back, we were just so grateful. So that's just kind of been the approach, and we're just so thankful to get practicing, especially here in California, and you're up there, or like it's we didn't know if we were going to get to play, and then when we start playing games, our whole deal has been no excuse program, and just be grateful for every day. So every day, like today, I just literally got our test, like all tests are negative today, and it's just like yes, like we have 2 more practices promised to us. So that's just kind of the approach and attitude we've taken, and maneuvering through all these challenges, and we talked about it, like. You have to be the most agile team this year. And I watched HBO's Hard Knocks, and I loved all the messaging that Sean McVay used, and we use to protect the ecosystem. So all that stuff and just stealing. I mean, that's what coaching is, just stealing everything from everybody else. And
a lot of coaches like to talk about culture and some of the things like that. when you maybe, I mean, it sounds like unexpectedly got this job when Patrick passed the torch. What are some of the things that go through your mind about some of the goals you want to achieve, or some of the foundation you want to establish, or things like that?
Yeah, I remember my first message to the team. I still have it because the first time that coach introduced DP told us that he was leaving, told the whole team, and mentioned that I was going to be the head coach, was very emotional. I was crying. The players were crying. And when you're as good a recruiter as DP is, Coach Patrick is, of course he has the best relationships with everybody, players and staff included. So when I came back 5 days later, I knew I had to deliver a really great message. So it was just very, my message was one step to the left, and we're all taking one step to the left, one seat over to the left, and that it was going to be a seamless transition. I wasn't going to try to change much. In fact, I think basketball-wise, the most comforting thing to the players was I wasn't going to change one thing of our defensive scheme. Like, we were going to run the same exact defense, same exact drills that DP had started last year. And I was kind of like his defensive coordinator, so to speak. He allowed me to run some drills and that part of practice. But that was very comforting to them, that we didn't have to change much on that end. And so the culture last year was all defense anyways. That was our success, was we do our defensive drills with bricks. That was all DP. We did UFC and boxing because DP wanted us to get tough, including the coaches. We all had a lift. I had a lift we all lifted. And that's kind of DP's thing, is like that sweat equity thing. And it's something I learned from him. But I was in great shape when DP was here because we all had a lift that last year with the players. And we kind of just carried that over. We'd still do some of our defensive drills with bricks. And that's that culture, that grittiness and that toughness. Now this year, what's been our secret sauce is that we've grown offensively.
And with, just an unusual year and Riverside kind of taking in this stance as a dark horse and all these things combined, also have to factor in your background and your history and becoming the first Division I head coach of full Asian heritage. And that in itself is a really special story. I'd love to get your perspective on that and what that means to you, and especially, an open space to promote what you've been doing with the Asian Coaches Association. I think that's really important. And with this show, focusing quite a bit on diversity and things like that. So I'd love to give you your perspective on that.
Yeah, when I've got the job, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't even think about that. And then all of a sudden, people started reporting that I was the first full Asian heritage, because Coach Rex Walters was the head coach at the University of San Francisco before me. And so, but it's a responsibility. I take it serious because I really do think that, like Coach Spoelstra, who's one of my idols, obviously, half Filipino head coach in the NBA, I think his success over the last decade or so, that he's won 2 championships and was in the finals this year, has absolutely helped me. I just think that it opened a door that, okay, somebody that looks like us could do it. And so that's just what I take, that responsibility, especially even running the Asian Coaches Association. And this summer during the quarantine, we started these weekly Zooms that a lot of like you guys, now your network has just grown, but we were just doing it just to kind of, I would always get these young Asian coaches calling me like, how'd you do it? Like, meaning like, how'd you even get to be a Division I assistant? Because Asian coaches back in the day were kind of pigeonholed in that administrative role, that director operations role, and that's kind of why I started the Asian Coaches Association, to just give us a platform and help us network and help us grow. And hopefully somebody would give more of us a shot on the floor to be the assistant coach, which is all of our dreams. And so I started these Zooms with our vice president, Steve Yang, who's the Dobo of Georgetown Women. And those things grew. Like, well, all of a sudden we had people from all over the world, including all over the country, both men's and women's side. And then we have athletic directors come on. Pat Chun, the first Asian athletic director in the Power 5 conference, came on, and he said something that really sticks with me. And he's just like, look, our job is to make it so that the next generation of Asian coaches or athletic directors, aspiring athletic directors and whatnot, have it better than us. It's that simple. And so that's the responsibility I take. Just obviously winning would help. And if we keep doing well and I do a good job, then it gives the next guy a chance. So that's the responsibility that I do carry a little bit.
And you spoke a little bit about it there, but I'd like to to expand on it a little bit, you mentioned kind of the responsibility as a coach or just even the leader of young men and women. What do you take out of that? What is something that has maybe inspired you to take up coaching, and how does that translate to what you're trying to accomplish with your program?
Like I think anything, all the things that I've done in my life, I've had a very different path to here. I was in the business world in my 20s. I ran a real estate company from 2003 to 2010 and kind of lucked into college coaching. I was always coaching high school basketball. I was coaching JV high school basketball from 2002 to 2010 while I was running in the business world. But leading a company is the same thing as leading a young group of men and leading the Asian Coaches Association. So they all are kind of go hand in hand. You learn some things and what works, what doesn't. And you just, I was just talking to my staff today, and I think people ask, like, well, how have you had so much success? And it's just like, it starts with DP. Like David Patrick and the other people I've worked for, you need great people. Like, and what does that mean? It means you need great people. Like people ask, like, if you're, how do you build a culture? How do you build? It's like you need great people and great as your coaching staff. It doesn't matter what resources and what our facilities look like, and our facilities are fine and whatnot. Because people ask, like, how are you doing at UC Riverside? It's like, first of all, we have a beautiful campus. We're here in Southern California. It's 70 degrees every day, so it's not hard to sell. But like, it's the people, the coaching staff. It's the players will feel like it's a professional organization because of the way that we run our organization. It's the 5 to 6 coaches on staff that make the players feel that way. And I think that's how you build a culture. And that's just what I try to do in leading any of our, the Asian Coaches Association or at this point, UC Riverside basketball.
And one of the things that you mentioned earlier about having that buy-in from the defensive side, I think that's one of the reasons you probably agree. One of the reasons why this team has been so successful. How do you as a staff, emphasize that? It's so easy to pinpoint like who's hitting threes and hitting big shots and stuff, but defense is really where the meat is made and things like that. How have you as a staff kind of established that defensive intensity?
We hold them accountable on that end. So, but it also goes to it's like, what do you start practice with? Well, we start every practice with closeouts. And that's kind of from Tony Bennett in Virginia, and DP. I'll just keep giving him credit forever. But him and Tony Bennett are kind of family friends, and they start every practice with 2-on-2 closeouts. I think that's a story. Maybe he told us just so we start, but that's what we do. we do that, and so it's your drills, right? It's how you build out a practice. So it's what you emphasize. You're going to be good at what you emphasize. You do bricks all summer and you start doing UFC and you start doing boxing, you're going to get tougher. So you're emphasizing it. Coach Patrick is emphasizing it. And so we emphasize it. And when I took over, what I did, Steve Kerr kind of opened up my eyes when he took over from Mark Jackson. Obviously, he had Hall of Famers on his team, but he didn't know that yet, when he turned them into champions from Mark Jackson's days. But he said, I'm going to hold them accountable defensively and in their coverages and their skin. And that's what I do. We hold them accountable defensively and rebounding. And like, that is the one thing that I will yell at. But as long as they're organized and playing within like the structure of our offensive scheme, I kind of let them flow. You won't see me yell at them too much for a bad shot. Like, as long as they're they have to be within the organization of they can't just be running their own plays. Like, if they're within the organization. But on the defense and the rebounding side is that we as a staff will hold them accountable to that. And then they have a little more freedom to play offensively.
And some of the individuals on this team who have really stood out, Rinzi Cheatham's done a really good job. Zion Pullen, some of these guys, who has maybe stood out to you as some of the players who have developed or maybe even embraced some leadership roles during this strange season?
Well, first off, obviously Rinzi and Zion, you named our 2 best players.
Mm-hmm.
But Zion Pullen has been, I guess, not a big surprise because he played a bunch of minutes as a freshman. And I think I believe, and Coach Smith used to say it all the time, that players make their biggest jump between their freshman and sophomore year. Well, Zion Pullen's just made a humongous jump. But what's made the jump from he could always dribble, pass, and finish around the basket, but he's shooting 40% from 3. So that's kind of been the big jump. And then, just kind of a random guy to talk about is George Wilborn, who was a transfer from UTSA, and he was a starter last year. And this year, he's coming off the bench, and he has just shown great leadership, just bought in completely to his role. And I mean, that in itself has made us as good a team as we can possibly, because now he's coming off the bench. He's played starter minutes in his past at UTSA and here, and he's bought into this role coming off the bench. Now he's like a 50% 3-point shooter, and he's always hovering around 30%. So it's just something. There's something in the air here that just like everybody's buying into their roles. There's a really connected group. I think it's a function of that they're all in the same apartment complex and kind of in their own little bubble. But it's just kind of magically grown into this really, really connected group. And guys who have accepted their roles, like George Wilborn, have been a reason.
So you guys, I think top 10, top 15 nationally in 3-point percentage. You have a lot of quality defensive metrics. That's all fine and dandy. I know with coaches, you guys are never satisfied. So what are maybe some things that you hope to see out of your team as we head into this stretch run where a lot of these games are, to be quite honest, like backs against the wall?
Yeah, that's good, Eli. You know the metrics good, because like when we lose, I'm like, well, at least we're still top 15. Or I look at that's what it makes me feel better. Oh, we're still top 10 effective field goal percentage defense. We're 9. It's funny. I didn't even know that. And our offensive coordinator, my assistant Mike Zeppel, kind of shared with the team in film the other day that we're 9th in the country 3-point percentage. And I do know that we have 6 guys that are shooting over 40% from 3. Knock on wood. Hope they keep it going. So I went into last week and I said, I want you guys to tap into the feeling that this is tourney time. So we're going into this game against Santa Barbara, who's the first place team. And yeah, you have to play purposeful basketball from the first possession to the last possession. Like that's the feeling I want you to have going in this weekend. And I knew that they were going to be up for it anyways, because both of them were on ESPN. First one was on ESPN national TV. But I wanted them to feel that, it's okay to feel that pressure. And I've kind of like put in my notes throughout the year that these guys do respond well to pressure, because Washington game, double-digit win on short notice, USC game on short notice, and they took them to overtime. And so I kind of am pushing that button, and I think that they do respond well to pressure. And although we lost the first game, we played a good game. We just got out rebounded and out hustled a little bit. And then the second game this weekend at UC Santa Barbara for them to come back. So, we have to take care of business this weekend against Northridge. And it's an away game, and it's the one team we have not beaten in our 2.5 years here, in our 3 years here. So we have not beaten Northridge yet. So that's great. It's a great challenge for the guys. They have to stay focused. And then it's just managing their bodies and just trying to get us as fresh as possible, so that those 3 days, hopefully we can be peaking and just pop. It's going to be tough as heck, because UC Irvine is still very, very good. UC Santa Barbara is still very, very good. Cal State Bakersfield, they beat us this year. They're very physical, and Coach Barnes has made multiple NCAA tournaments. And you know how it is. It's anybody's, especially in the Big West. I think at one point before the last 2 years where Irvine's won it, there were like 8 different champions in 8 years. So because of the tournament, it's a one big league.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to go at next with the Big West. And I'm kind of a mid-major guy, and I'm out in Seattle, and I love the West Coast hoops. And it's been cool to see a lot of these games broadcast on national TV, like your games against UC Santa Barbara. What is this league like? I still feel like it's kind of an underrated league, especially this year where you have a lot of teams kind of contending up top, and Irvine's always been there and things like that. What are maybe some takeaways that you have from this league and the competitive nature of it?
Well, I think it's as good as it's ever been. Not ever. If you go back to the days with UNLV and Brian Shaw and Santa Barbara and all that stuff. But in the last 10 years, right now, I think we're per KenPom, we're the 14th, 13th, somewhere around there, best conference in the country. You have Santa Barbara, ourselves, and Irvine, who've been in the top 100 net for most of the year. And then KenPom wise, you have 4 or 5 teams that are top 150 KenPom, and then Santa Barbara's been hovering around 70. So it's a very good league. I think when we got here, we saw it. Coach Patrick, myself, we kind of took a view of what we were going up against, and it was size. Hawaii was big. You see, Irvine's always big, and Santa Barbara was big. And so we knew to compete in this league, we had to be big. So we recruited big. So we were big at every position. But that's how we've been able to compete. It's just we just recruited to be able to compete with these guys. And luckily, some of these guys have developed into pretty good players. But it's a extremely competitive league. Coach Gannett at Hawaii. You're talking about Coach Barnes at Bakersfield that just came into the league. Coach Les at UC Davis. They made NCAA tournaments in the last 3-4 years. Cal State Fullerton won it 2 years ago. So it's a very, very competitive and very well coached league. Very similar to when I was in the Ivy League. Like we were about the 12th to 14th best conference in the Ivy League, kind of under the radar, but with some pretty darn good talent. There's definitely like 2 or 3 NBA guys in our league too.
Yeah, and so I mean, one of the things that I'm curious about, you being one of the younger coaches, and talking about KenPom and effective field goal percentage and things like that. A lot of coaches still don't really buy into the use of analytics and maybe points per possession and things of that nature. Does that play a role in anything that your staff looks at, or maybe some strategy that you have behind the things that you do?
Oh, Eli, it's everything.
Yeah,
I mean, we are heavy analytics staff. How we share that and deliver that to the team is we have to be smart about that, because they don't get it like we do. You know what I mean? Even just like a scout, they don't see it like you do, like we do, right? So Coach Smith, Kyle Smith, who came from that, when I first started with him in 2010, he's always been, I mean, he coined the phrase Moneyball for basketball. We run the very, very similar program to that we ran there at Columbia. I still use the same Excel files for our tracking. We do all kinds of tracking, different shooting drills, very similar to what they did at San Francisco, and Todd Golden still does it there. And it kind of started when they were all at St. Mary's together. Todd Golden, David Patrick, Kyle Smith were all coaches of players at St. Mary's under Randy Bennett. So we're all running a very similar program. Obviously, it kind of deviates, and you bring your own whatever to it. So, but it's huge. It's a huge part of my study on opponents. It's a huge part of like what we want to get better at, because you can't get better at everything. So you do emphasize, okay, so this year it was like, we have to turn the ball over less. Let's focus on that, like offensively. If we want to grow offensively, well, how do we do that? And so like all the things that we're thinking about are like, how do we turn the ball over less? Besides like, make them run. Like there's got to be different. Well, maybe that guy turns the ball over, keep the ball out of his hands, make him a screen and roll, like whatever it is. So yes, it's a very big focus of ours. How do we become a great effective field goal percentage defense team? Well, we protect the rim. So it's some people just don't allow 3-point attempts. But it goes. There's a lot of that spoken about in our coaching staff meetings.
Coach, how much do you ever consult Adam Hood for your statistics? No, I'm kidding.
We all come from the same family, Adam.
I
Hood,
know.
He replaced me at Columbia. So when I left to Campbell, Coach Hood came in.
Yeah,
He loves his analytics, though. He does.
He does love. He's like Mr. Analytics. That's his new hashtag, Mr. Analytics. So there is a place for nerds in basketball. Is that what you're saying, Coach?
I mean, I wouldn't be here if there wasn't.
What's a funny story you have for us in year one of being a head coach? Anything funny that you'd like to share?
I'm glad you called me, because I had a bunch. I was like, oh, maybe I'll go back to how like Kyle like offered me. But in year one, I do have a good one. So it's tied to Kyle, because I've seen Kyle. I remember Kyle at Columbia. Some guy talked back to a coach, a big guy. It was a big guy. And he just went at him. And I remember exactly what he said. I just remember it vividly for whatever reason. And Kyle's not a yeller. Like and we're all very similar. We all coach in a very positive, motivating way, but we'll get on you for bad attitudes. Like,
right. And
so one guy on our team, and you'll know him, he's actually also has a mullet, like LePepe. They're all from the same area, from the same Australia, and so our guy mullet, like he's got a mullet, second best to LePepe, but he was still learning, figuring it out the first 2 months and his approach, and I was trying to get him to improve his approach, but he'd always like talk back to the assistants, and so like I was just waiting for him to do it again, and he did it one practice, and I just went off on him. I was like, if you ever do that again, I swear to God, you're out of here. You're out. And it's literally word for word what Coach Smith had said to a player in 2012 at Columbia. And like, he's like, all right. Like I went off, it was like purposeful, but I went off. Like I got like, it was fake angry, but then it kind of, I got myself going a little bit, and I was like, you're out of here. You're going to be out of here. You can't. I just went off. And so after after practice, I was like, oh my God. And I told my assistant, like Lezak, and it's like, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully he'll never talk bad to the coaches again. And I was kind of mad at them. I was like, you guys let him banter with you. And then like Coach Lezak says, like, you know what, Mike, Coach Mike, he totally deserved it. He's like, but he actually wasn't talking back to me. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he was talking crap to like Flynn, like the other guy on the team. I was like, what? Like, so I yelled at him. I used it. And he was talking back to the coaches. And I'm like, oh my God, I got it wrong. I that was funny because I had like been waiting for him for a week to talk back to the coach, and then he didn't even talk back to the coach. He was just like talking crap.
Oh man,
I love it. So did you have to go back and put your arm around him and make and take?
What
make fun
I
of yourself?
usually do when I do. There's probably been 5 times when I've lost it this year on the guys for whatever reason. Sometimes purposeful, sometimes fake. It turns into like real. I usually do like try to make it whole at the in some way, shape, or form. Try to explain where I'm coming from a little bit.
Right. Well, awesome stuff, Coach. We appreciate you taking the time, man. We know you have a big tournament ahead and exciting things to come for you and that program, and super excited for you coming on, man. A big fan from afar. I got to know you through your Zooms, actually, and Adam Hood invited me to this summer, and I think we recruited some of the same kids when you were when DP was in Texas, and I think that's the first time I met you. You guys had like the neon Riverside. I was like, these guys got some neon stuff going. I like it.
All DP, all DP, all DP.
But no, it's awesome having you on, man, and good luck the rest of the way, and looking forward to nothing but great things to come. And we got a comment, actually. Hold on, we got a comment for you. Oh man, gonna be rooting for UCR even harder now. That was great. See, there you go, making some fans.
Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you,
thanks
man.
so much.
Take care.
All right, well, awesome. Another awesome one. We'll let Eli give his 1 minute breakdown, and then we'll bring in a conference champion, associate head coach next.
Yeah, that was a really fun conversation with Coach Magpayo, and they've been doing such special things this year. Of course, with his background, paving some way there for the Asian Coaches Association, and being the first full Asian Heritage Division I head coach. It's really cool. But man, this team can play, and it's cool with the unusual scheduling differences in college basketball this year that the Big West has had some nationally televised games being played on ESPN2 and ESPN, and Riverside has shown up, and it's a team that can really shoot from the perimeter. And as we've discussed here, it's a analytically focused team that does great things on the defensive end as well. They've got some entertaining players, and it'll be fun to see how this winds up. And the Big West is known for, it seems like every single year there's a different winner in this conference. Irvine's always there, but it still seems like there's a lot of parity in this league. So you just never know what could happen. And it's a fun team to follow. And the transition from David Patrick to Coach Mike like that, it's just a crazy business. And he certainly made the most of his time there, and we wish the very best of luck to this team the rest of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go from West Coast to East Coast. We're fortunate Coach stayed up to hang out with us. When you're a conference champion, I'm sure you probably pulling late hours is not anything new, but we're glad that he's going to come on again. He's actually been on with us in Coast to Coast with All Access Network with Kevin Sweeney, and today we'll bring him on with Eli, Coach Curran over at St. Bonaventure, conference champions. Hey, Coach, guys. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back. So I'm going to get out of the way and let Eli hang out with you for a little bit. But congratulations, Coach. Conference champions. That is a big deal. We know how hard that league is. Just talk a little bit about the journey to this point, and now you guys actually are cutting down the nets. You're number 1 seed in your conference and headed to the conference tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it still hasn't really sunken in yet, to be honest with you. We started off the season, had to deal with the COVID stuff like everybody else, and missed a bunch of games early. So we only had 2 non-conference games, against 2 really good opponents. Akron, who we played on a neutral site and beat them, and then we beat Hofstra here at home. And then we opened up the conference season, the A10 season on the road. We had to go to Rhode Island. And we lost a tough game at Rhode Island early on. We didn't have one of our starters, Jaron Holmes, who's one of our, could be second or third All Atlantic 10. We didn't have him, but then we got him back as we stayed out and we played at Richmond and had a big win. Our point guard Kyle Lofton hit a 3 to win the game. And then, we started to feel confident. We had some kids leave the team that, some issues with COVID and not playing and this and that, just kind of the flavor of the year there. So, it kind of bonded us and galvanized us a little bit more. And, we started to go on a run. We started going on a run and beat some really good teams. We played Duquesne twice, who was a good chance we might play them on Thursday in the quarterfinals if they take care of Richmond. We beat them twice, and we beat VCU. We came back and beat VCU at home. It was a huge win for us, and we kind of just managed the season, and our guys stayed diligent and worked and stayed as careful as they could be with the COVID situation. We battled our way through, and then the league scheduled some games. We had to play Davidson on a Sunday here, and then on Wednesday there last week, which were two huge games because they were right below us, and we beat them twice. And as you know, Coach McKillop's won a zillion games, and they have great players. Kellen Grady's probably one of the best players ever to play in the Atlantic 10. And, we were able to beat them, and then we beat GW here last Friday. And then on Saturday, Davidson beat VCU, who was contending with us, and then we clinched it outright without even playing a game. And then yesterday we battled with Dayton, and Dayton came ready to play, and they beat us by 3 at our place. But it was an emotional week too. Our president, I don't know if you guys know, passed away yesterday of COVID-19 implications. He had been in the hospital since December 29th. Dr. DePiro, who was the president here, and it was a great guy and a great leader of our university, and unfortunately passed away due to COVID. And it was kind of a eerie feeling yesterday, and but here we are, and waiting to head down to the tournaments in Richmond at 2 sites, Richmond and VCU, and we're going to play at VCU on Friday morning, 11 a.m. Let's go.
Yeah, so it's a lot to unpack, and that's kind of been the theme of the Atlantic 10 this year. It's been just a wild league overall. As a staff to go from kind of the dark horse in this conference with all the pub that Richmond and St. Louis were rightfully heading into the season. How has your staff kind of assessed this team and made this all work to now be the top team in the Atlantic 10?
Yeah, we have a really good junior class. Kyle Lofton, Oshuna Suni, 2 guys that are kind of our point guard and our 5-man. They anchor the team, and then we have Dom Welch, Jaron Holmes, and then we added a transfer, Jalen Attaway, who transferred in here from Miami of Ohio, who was eligible this year. They're kind of like our Iron 5. They play 35 to 40 minutes a game every night out. And these guys have had success. Kyle and Oshun and Dom Welch, who I mentioned, all played on this team as freshmen, and we made it to the finals of the Atlantic 10 tournament in Brooklyn, and we lost by 2 points to St. Louis. And they did that as freshmen. So they've been here. They know how to win. They won before they got here at where they were in prep schools and high schools. And so they know what it takes to win. And we've always, here at St. Bonaventure, we've always embraced the role of being the underdog, and that's fine. We've embraced it, and a lot of the players that we get aren't recruited by all the schools in our league, so they want to come here and prove that they can play and have a chip on their shoulder and prove that they belong. And that's why we've been successful, because we get guys that are hungry. We kind of use that as a motivating factor. And I think we were picked in the top 4 this year. St. Louis was definitely picked number 1. I think like you said, Richmond was probably number 2. But it doesn't, every year, that's all great and it sounds good in September when you pick that high. But look at VCU; they were picked 8th and they came in 2nd. So it's just, we use it as a motivating factor, and we've always overachieved, and I think a lot of that has to do with Coach Schmidt. He's a great coach. He's a motivator. He gets these guys, puts these guys in positions to win, and we go about our business and try to just try to get a little bit better each game and every day in practice.
You mentioned the underdog, the chip on the shoulder type mentality that St. Bonaventure has, and I remember you speaking about that on this show with Kevin Sweeney last time about how Bonaventure might not be the destination place that has the palm trees and everything like that, but you guys come here, get to work, and win basketball games. And maybe if you were to take us behind the scenes a little bit and talk about what entices players to come to this program, and maybe how you make that recruiting pitch of making this all work and being the top team in the Atlantic 10.
Yeah, I mean, like I was telling those guys, and I think I don't want to repeat myself, but it's, we try to sell. We tell the truth. I mean, you got to come here. We're the only show in town. There's no, when you say what game are you going to tonight, they don't ask you, oh, you going to the Buffalo Bills game or the Buffalo Bulls game. They know you're going to St. Bonaventure basketball. They know you're going to the game. And that's a big deal. And we have 5,000 people at every home game. Back in 2012, we had Andrew Nicholson. He was the 19th pick in the draft. I think we were the only school that offered him a Division I scholarship. I wasn't here when he signed, but he was the 19th pick in the draft. We sell that there's no distractions. I mean, we want guys that want to be pros, that want to come here to get better, that want to become professional, get paid to play this game, and obviously getting a great education in a place that really, really cares about basketball. I mean, the entire league, the Atlantic 10, is one of the purest basketball leagues in the country. I mean, there's no football, in any of these schools, from what I know, that are competitive. And it's a basketball conference with great coaches, with teams that can compete for the Final Four. It'd be obviously with VCU and George Mason being two of those that have done that. Not in the Atlantic 10, but it just this tradition, and I think we don't take a backseat to any of those schools. We won our 11th league game last week, and we're the only team in the last 8 seasons to have double-digit conference wins. So that doesn't happen overnight, but it's a daily thing, and we try to sell our players that, all right, maybe you're not getting recruited by the VCUs, the St. Louis's, the Richmonds, all right, but you can come here and you can compete against those guys, and you don't have to take a backseat to anybody, and we've been able to do that with, obviously going back to Nicholson, but as of recently, like Courtney Stockard, who's playing overseas now, he was from St. Louis, was not recruited by St. Louis, and we went to the NCAA tournament with him and beat UCLA. He hit a game winner against Maryland in a neutral court in a exempt tournament. So it's like, Jalen Adams, and I can go on and on, but it's the players that have done it for us, and we go everywhere to find them. Transfers, JUCOs, transfers up, overseas. We just, like most of these guys that you have on these shows, we find a way to get it done, and once they get here, we got to make them better. We take a lot of pride in getting guys better once they get here.
And the players. No, you're good. That's all great details. The players contributed to this winning tradition, but obviously a lot of the credit has to go to what Mark Schmidt has done and your staff. What is it like working with him, and what has he done to make this program so special?
I mean, I worked for Coach Schmidt at Robert Morris, and a lot of people won't believe this, but he doesn't even have a computer in his office. He does not. He goes through more legal pads. I don't know, name a famous lawyer. I don't know too many, but then a lawyer, like he sits in his office and he watches film on his, the Dobo guy or film guy puts the stuff on his computer. He watches film and he just works on his legal pads. He just gets our guys prepared. He's one of the best. He's probably the best coach in the country as far as I'm concerned, as far as getting guys prepared. He watches more film than the assistants, believe it or not. I'll watch. If I had to do things out, I'll watch 5 tapes. He'll watch 7 tapes. He'll watch every tape every time they played us in the last 2 years. He's always looking for that advantage. He has a great mind in terms of how we want to defend certain things, where our opponent's weaknesses are defensively, where we can exploit them. And he gives our guys everything they need to succeed and to be successful. And he puts them in a position to be successful. To work for him, I've known him for over 20 years, as a professional, and he just, as long as you do your job, he doesn't bother you. If you're always, he doesn't check on you, he doesn't look over your shoulder. He lets you do your job, and if you're not doing your job, he's going to let you know about it. So we all take pride, and we all want to have our fingerprint on this program, and we've had great staffs here that really, we all mesh really well together. And Mark's he's been great. He's great. He's not a big office guy. We're not in the office, on August 15th from 7 in the morning to 10 at night. He's good like that. So he's a family guy that knows what it's like, and he has a good perspective on everything.
You mentioned getting talent from the JUCO ranks, international transfers, all different walks of life. How do you, as a staff, put this all together and make it mesh? There's so many programs that try to do different routes and maybe bring in a ton of transfers, or especially with overlooked players, that can be really challenging. So how does this staff make it work?
I mean, we don't all right, Curran, you have New England. I'm from Boston originally, so you have New England. I mean, we just, like, as a staff, we kind of just figure out, all right, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm going. Can you look at this kid for me? We kind of just work together. We don't really have areas of the country that recruit. All right, this assistant's only going to recruit JUCOs. This assistant's only going to recruit international. We kind of just do what we do, and at the end of the day, we bring it all in front of Coach Schmidt, and he makes a decision. Rarely, and it's different now, obviously, with the pandemic, but rarely has he ever taken a kid that he hasn't seen in person with his own two eyes. He's always been like that. Even when I worked for him at Robert Morris, I worked for other guys that, will take a kid sight unseen, based on the assistant. But Mark's one of those guys. He works, and this is not a dig on a head coach, but he works like he's an assistant. He wants to get out there and he wants to see players and he wants to see if they fit the way he wants them to play. And I think, obviously, me having been with him for so long at two different places, I know the exact type of player that he likes, and we both like the same type of guys. So that makes it a little bit easier for me to figure out, all right, he really needs to see this kid versus I'm not sure, and I won't let him. I won't make him waste his time. But like, in terms of the recruiting, it's not that easy either. The NCAA has 130 days to be out and evaluate. We use 130 every year. It was never a year. I'm begging my compliance guy for more. It's like, that's because it's hard. We got to go out and almost recruit like we're a Division III institution. Mass recruit, but at the same time, we're trying to find those hidden gems, those diamonds in the rough. But we'll use 130 days every year. Like, I don't think there's been a couple of years ago, we got nabbed a couple of days because of a minor, like, little infraction. And it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? we only have 125 days. But, that's just part of being here and being where we're located. And, we just piece it together, and we've been able to do that. We don't want to be too much, you recruit all JUCOs, and then, you got guys that aren't going to be happy with the minutes, and, you're going to bring in two of the same players. You got to figure it out that way on paper, what positions you need, where you need to fill, what classes. But, for the most part, we've done a great job of doing that.
One of at least statistically, one of the things that has stood out about this year's team is the major improvements on the defensive end from an efficiency perspective. What have you been able to accomplish as a staff and as a team in that sense to have that significant rise?
You know what I think it is? You're absolutely right. I think, and I've been here since 2011 or 2010. This is definitely by far the best defensive team we have. And I think the reason behind that is because they know that we're limited offensively. And our guys know that, and they're not afraid to admit that. So they know in order for us to be successful, they know they need to do it down the defensive end. We haven't done anything different in practice. We do the same shell drill, the same pack line defense, the same ball screen coverage. We've switched ball screen coverage a little bit, but at the end of the day, we've been doing it the same way we've been doing it, for 15 years. And I just think it's our guys' mentality. It's not. It really hasn't been anything that we've said or done or shown or anything like that. It's just been our guys, and they know what they need to do to be successful, and they've really bought in defensively. I mean, to defend, Richmond, it's like going to the dentist. I mean, it's brutal. To go, the Davidsons, their motion offense is as good as anything. And to defend that and to be able to stop teams like that, you need a special bunch. And this group has bought into that. And Kyle is the definite leader. He's Kyle Lofton, and then Oshun he's probably going to get defensive player of the year. He's a 5-man. He had 7 blocks last night against against Dayton. I wish he had 9. We probably would have won the game, but he's going to be the all-time leading shot blocker in the history of the school when it's all said and done. Knock on wood. But so those 2 guys are kind of our captain and our anchor, and the other guys, they take pride in it.
And speaking of the other guys, maybe if you were to shine some light on some other individuals who have made this happen, who would some of those players be?
Yeah, I mentioned Kyle and Oshun. Those guys will get their accolades. But we have a kid by the name of Jaron Holmes, and I think I mentioned last time he played for Billy Gillespie at Ranger College. A kid from just outside of Detroit, Romulus, Michigan. He had no Division I offers coming out of high school. Went to prep school at Quality Ed in North Carolina. I never heard about him, and then he went off to junior college. So went to Ranger, and they made it all the way to Hutch, and they beat Northwest Florida when Coach DeMeo was coaching them with Duarte and those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we noticed Jaron. He played the 4. He was like 6'3". He was playing the 4 for Gillespie, but he defended, because if you don't defend for Coach Gillespie, you might as well just go home. And he defended. He made plays, and we really liked him. And then we called, and they lost in the finals to Vincennes. I stayed out there the whole week just kind of following Jaron around, but they lost to Vincennes in the championship game at Hutch. And then we called Gillespie when they got back. He was like, "You guys don't want him. He's a Division II player." And we didn't know that, because Billy wanted him to come back for another year, or maybe keep him because he knew something was going on. But we ended up getting him, and he's been great for us. He's had big games. I think he had 38 against St. Joe's early in the year, and he's a really good player. He can do a lot of things off the dribble. He's this big, strong kid. Can make shots. Phenomenal person. And the other kid we have is a local kid, Dom Welch. He's from just outside of Buffalo, and he's been great. He's about 6'6", shoots it like a pro. And when he's making shots, he's as good as any shooter in the country. He's got a pure release. I think he's a high percentage 3-point shooter on the team with great size. He can rebound his position, super athletic. And then Jalen Attaway is a kid that we took who's over exceeded our expectations. He came in from Magnolia, Ohio, and he's had some huge games. He's one of the most explosive player we've ever seen. He's only like 6'5", 6'6". He plays above the rim. His 3-point shot is starting to fall. He can make plays, and good player. So those are a few of the guys that have helped us get to where we are. And then coming off the bench, we got Alejandro Vasquez, a kid from New York City who's capable of putting up 20 any night. He's a good player. And, we got a bunch of guys that have accepted their roles coming off the bench.
Yeah, and especially with this team kind of having that underdog mentality, I think it's especially important in a year like this. I mean, let alone with COVID-19, but especially in the Atlantic 10, where everyone seems to be beating up on each other and everyone's giving each other a tough game. How do you assess the league at large with all of these teams competing for bids? And I mean, you probably have 7 or 8 teams that can win this tournament championship.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't. As the number 1 seed, I'm scared to death. I think, obviously, it's all about the matchups. Like, we match up better in certain teams versus others. St. Louis has always given us problems with their physicality and their toughness at times. I just think, any team could win this thing. Honestly, you look at the brackets, and even like St. Joe's, they're not letting the ball. They won 3 straight. They got the kid Daly back. They blew up Dayton last week, and they went on the road last night, and they won at Richmond. It's like they're as good as anybody. So I mean, I assess it as just we just need to win one more game. Then we'll figure it out. It's about staying healthy. It's about taking care of your bodies and making sure you're ready to play when it's time to play. And I think at the end of the day, I'm afraid it's only going to be a 2-bid league. To be honest with you, I don't think there could be more. I mean, I remember when Dayton came in 6th and they went to the Elite 8. Back when Hutch was coaching, they had pros, but so I'm unfortunately probably going to be a 2-bid league this year just because of the way things are shaking out. But hopefully we're one of them. That's the plan.
Do you guys, as a staff, or maybe if you know what the players do you pay attention much to that? Like what the bracket projections look like and things like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do. Like I was just when I was waiting for you, I was watching the Xavier Georgetown game. Xavier's a bubble team, and I think they lost. I don't know. Georgetown was up big, and my son was playing because we can't go to the games out here. So my son was playing, so I was on the phone watching him on YouTube play. He was playing outside of Buffalo, so I was watching him play and then trying to watch that. But yeah, I do. We all pay attention to it. Our ops guy is always on it. You know, he's one of those. You guys are talking about nerds earlier. Not that he's a nerd, but he's like, you know, he knows all the metrics and all that stuff that's involved, and you know, so yeah, especially, you know, it's going to be weird, especially like hopefully we win a game or two and you know, make it to the finals, and then I think business will take care of itself. But you know, that week between our semifinals are Friday, our quarterfinals are Friday, our semis are Saturday, then there's the whole week till the following Sunday where our conference championship is being played out of Dayton Arena. So there'll be like a whole week of just speculation of who's going to get in and that, and it's just going to be whatever. But I have no more here to lose, so I'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, kind of on the same topic, the scheduling challenges of this year. What's that been like to try to piece together a schedule? I think you mentioned just 2 or 3 non-conference games. What's this all been like with last-second changes and making sure you guys are prepared?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I mean, we were all set to go to Connecticut. We were going to play 4 games at the Mohegan Sun right at the beginning, and then we popped a positive, and it ran through our team. And you know, unfortunately, I don't have anything to do with scheduling. Our ops guy, Matt Papano, he's been doing it for years, and he does a great job. And you know, he's done us. You know, obviously, the Akron game was a big game because they're one of the top teams in the MAC, and then Hofstra's always good, and they compete at a high level in the Colonial. So, I mean, those are the only 2 non-league games that we got, and we couldn't really find a way to fit anymore. And you know, it would have been great to play Buffalo. They were always good, and they always give us a good game. And you know, they beat us last couple of years. And then, but we just, with the COVID and everything else, we just kind of focused on the league, and then we jumped around a little bit. And the league kind of took over the scheduling down the stretch in terms of who we're going to play. And you know, I think they were trying to do it more for metrics than anything else. What's up, Brian?
Not much, man. I was gonna tell you what you got a funny story for us before we let you go, man. You know how we do it, right?
I got a great. It came to me when you asked that, the last gentleman. So I don't remember the year, but I don't know if you guys remember. Coach Schmidt tore his Achilles in practice here at St. Bonaventure. Do you guys remember that?
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
All right, so yeah, I was on the road recruiting, and I got a call from one of the assistants, like, "Kern, you got to get back here." We had a little mishap in practice, and Coach went in to break it up and tore his Achilles. It was right before Christmas, and so I was like, "Damn, all right." So get back, whatever. So he gets the surgery right before Christmas, so we go play on the road at UMass when Coach Kellogg was there. Great game. We're going back and forth and blah 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 blah, and we win the game. So Mark's all fired up, and we're all fired up. And you know, he had one of those scooters. You know those scooters where you, like, one leg's on the ground and the one with the cast or the injured leg is up. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a scooter. You know, like skate around on it.
Oh yeah.
So we're going through the handshake line, and UMass has like a parquet floor, so it's like, because it's over a hockey rink, or at least back then it was. So it's like there's little like spaces in the boards. So Coach is going through the line with his left hand on the scooter. I can't put my phone, and his right hand shaking hands, and the front of the scooter caught one of those crevices in the floor, and the thing turned. The wheel turned. And he went freaking down hard. Everybody was laughing. The opposing team coaches who just lost that game, they were laughing. We were laughing. I think Schmidt threw his scooter across the ground and then hopped off the court. It was one of what you can YouTube it. It's on YouTube if you want to. It's pretty fun.
It's like the Ron Hunter
What's
one
that?
at Georgia State.
Yeah,
Ron Hunter beat Baylor. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very similar, but like Schmidt just went down. Like, but you know, when you win, you feel no pain. So we were all good.
When you win, it's all good. You don't get yelled at in the locker room.
Exactly. Let's get on the bus and get a sandwich.
No doubt. Well, Coach, good luck the rest of the way, man. You guys have been doing awesome, and obviously have a championship season. We're pulling for you guys to get in at an NCAA tournament. I know this last run at it, you guys will do great things. So thanks so much for coming on. Tell Coach Schmidt we say hello as always, and keep up the great work, man.
I will, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Eli. Thanks, Brian.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks
thank you.
much. Yeah, another awesome round from Coach Curran over at St. Bonnie's. We usually let Eli wrap it up in 1 minute, and then we go to Kentucky next. We got a little Kentucky, a little East Side. Throw up the East Side Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky coming on next. So, go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good season for St. Bonaventure to kind of go as these underdogs, as they always are. Like it's a team that always has the chip on the shoulder, and they don't always have the same credit that maybe a Dayton or a VCU gets out in the Atlantic 10. But they've done a really good job. They defend the basketball really well, and as Steve said, it's a lot of guys who were overlooked, who might not have had D1 offers, who had to go the JUCO route first, and they're getting the job done. And it's a team that's easy to root for. And you hope that, as he said, you hope the Atlantic 10 gets at least a couple bids in, because in the mid-major league it's tough, and when it's so competitive, when you have 8, 10, maybe, I don't know, 11, 12 teams that could win this tournament later this week. It's a tough situation to get tournament bids, but I do think that St. Bonaventure is deserving. They've done some wonderful things, and it's a team that definitely has that chip, and it's not a team single game elimination, because they'll be ready. They're not really scared of much at this point.
Right. So we're headed to from one league to another. We're going to Steve Lepore, former player. Played at Northwestern for a little bit with my brother, actually, surprisingly. So that's how I know him so well. And I got some funny stories I could say. I won't tell them on the air. But no, awesome dude, awesome player. Played at Wake Forest after that. I just can't say enough great things about him. And we'll have to ask him about his Twitter handle, too. We'll have to ask him, what is that all about? Is that because you're that good? What is it? He goes by the shot.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, shot practitioner, if I'm not mistaken. So, we'll have to ask him about that. But anyway, without further ado, we bring in Steve Lepore from Eastern Kentucky.
What's going on, Coach?
What's going on, man? We got the slick
Coach.
back today. I like it, Pat Riley style. I like it.
This is my coaching hair, man. This is my coaching hair.
I like it. So do you do that during games too, or do you kind of like let it out?
No, I actually put like motor oil on my hair so it sticks for a whole day. I honestly, I get more questions about my hair than anything else. It's unbelievable. Like it's like my identity, as a coach. But even the players, I mean, I've had a couple players like, "Hey, Coach, man, what can I do to grow my hair out like you?" I said, "Man, just let it go." I said, "It's gonna take a while, but you gotta let it go, man. You gotta stay committed." Because there's that in between stage.
Yeah, that's an awkward stage.
Oh man, it's coming. I mean, it's coming. Like you got to really want it, because when you go in that in between stage of the short hair to the long hair, there's gonna be some rough days. So, but it's all worth it in the end, man. I'm telling you.
No doubt.
You want to try it, Coach?
I've tried it a couple of times. Now Eli, he's got a reputation for his hair now. He has the best hair on the heat check staff. It's not even close.
Yeah, he looks like he's got some back potential.
Yeah, he got some definite potential.
I'll have to find the same hair gel that you're working with, though. We'll have to figure that one out.
It's expensive, man. I'm telling you, it's expensive.
Looks like
it can be expensive. Tell us about the Twitter handle before we talk about the team and all the fun, all the good basketball stuff. Tell us about the Twitter handle. Like, where did that come from? Is that a true statement? Did Skip Prosser, did he call you that one day being funny and then you just kept it? What happened?
No, well, actually, it's funny you bring up Coach Prosser, because I used to, when I was at Wake Forest as a senior, I used to lead some of the guys in some ball handling drills, and he used to always Coach Prosser used to always walk by and he'd be like, "I see you guys over there at the Steve Lepore School of Ball Handling." Skip Prosser was hilarious. He was awesome. But no, I mean, I've always, a big part of my career has been shooting. I always tell the guys, like, when we play one-on-one or something like that, and they can't believe, that I can shoot and make some shots. Like, guys, they didn't pay me to play defense or rebound. I'd always say that to the guys. But no, I love working with guys on their shot. Especially individually. And one of our players last year, he was a freshman, and I first started working with him. You could tell he didn't want to. He just didn't want to change his shot, because he has a great shot. But I just trying to tweak little things. And eventually we had a breakthrough, and he started trusting me, and we started doing it. And he's just kind of like, later in the year, he's like, "Man, I didn't realize." He's like, "You're like a shot doctor." And I was like, "Nah, I mean, that name's already taken. I'm not a doctor." He's like, what else can we call you?" And I was like, "I mean, what do you think, man?" And he said, "You're like a general practitioner. I was like, there it is, man. He's like, you're like the shot practitioner. And then I was like, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, that's pretty good. And I said, it's not official until I put it on my Twitter handle, though.
No doubt, no doubt.
And, but I, I thought about it, and I really liked it because shooting is, I mean, there's a lot that goes into shooting, but one of the biggest things is practicing. And so, I mean, the practitioner, and I honestly, I still practice shooting all the time just because I want to, just to remind myself what it feels like. I want to try different things. And so I say to a lot of our guys, I'm like, I'll be shooting left-handed. And they're like, Coach, that's not bad. Like, why are you shooting left-handed? I'm like, I just want to feel like it. I just want to know what it feels like when you guys are shooting. You have like no chance of making it, So, I mean, it's
man.
Like, I think it's hard to teach something that if you're not doing it, even though you know how to do it, you got to remind yourself, man, it's hard to shoot and it's hard to make shots. Or like when you compete, I compete against the guys a lot. So I think that's an important part of shooting too, is like you can shoot a bunch of reps, but if they don't feel like, the competition reps, then you're only getting so much out of it. So like, but it's crazy. When I'm practicing against them, or I'm competing against them, you still get that like nervous feeling or that feeling of competition. If you don't do it like, consistently, it's crazy how many shots you'll miss just because you're like, the game's on the line or whatever it is. So, we have a lot of fun with it. But no, it was Michael Marino. He's a sophomore for us right now. Really, really intelligent guy. He came up with it, so I give him all the credit.
I love it. I love it. So in these competitions where you're competing, because I know you enough to know like this competing is not just like for fun. This is like we're really competing. This is bragging rights. This is everything's at stake. So what are you competing at in this shooting? And are you actually still winning, or are you taking L's? I don't need my boy taking L's now.
Well, I mean, come on, Brian. You don't know me that well if you ask me if I'm taking L's, man. Like there's some really good shooters that I've shot against, like really good guys. And the games we play, they really vary. There's a free throw game. There's a 3-point game. There's the games just kind of keep growing as the years go because, you kind of get bored with the same game. But as it would happen over the years, I would always, we would have games and then we'd be like, we would bring up the record. We'd always bring up the record and be like, oh no, Coach, I beat you, 5 times last night. Like, no, you did, So there's always this back and forth. So finally, eventually, I said, all right, here's what we're gonna do. After every single day, I'm texting you our record. So like it's either on text or it's on like whatever, one of the messengers or whatever. So once we started to do that, then it becomes real, and then it becomes like after practice, like, Coach, I'm getting you today, man. I'm telling you, I'm getting you. I'm only down to whatever it is. So like we're always talking trash. We're always going back and forth, and like there's usually honestly there's guys that know that they can't beat, like guys that have been around. They've seen it, and they're like, I'm not even going against Coach. So it's always like the newer guys or the freshmen or like the transfers. Like, oh, I'm gonna get Coach. I'm gonna get Coach. It's like the other guys are just like, all right, man, we'll see. Because as soon as I win, the next chance I get when I walk in the locker, or I'll usually wait till the next day. I'd be like, hey man, who won the shooting game yesterday? Like asking the other guys. So like those guys know, like at first they don't realize that. They're always like, man, the first couple games, I didn't know it was gonna be that serious. I didn't know you were gonna be talking trash. And so. After we get going, man, it's intense, man. It really is. It's a lot of fun though. But honestly, I think it's a big way. The main, I love competing and I love shooting, but I think it's one of the better ways to get guys to translate the drills to the game because it feels like game reps. Like those guys want to beat me so bad that like when they're shooting free throws are what we do a lot of because how else are you going to simulate a free throw at the end of the game that you have to make to win the game or to tie the game or whatever, other than wanting to beat somebody really bad. I mean, you can compete against different guys, but when I'm talking trash to them every single day or vice versa, it just means that much more. Where those guys they want to make the shots. They get upset when they lose, and I do too. But it's a lot of fun to teach through competition.
I love it. I love it. So speaking of competition, year 3, anybody that follows college basketball understands year 3 is like the year, Year 1, you're laying the foundation. 2, you're getting your recruits more in and you're kind of taking a step. Year 3, you hope to be making a jump where you're competing for a championship and or at least competing at a high level. And you guys are definitely doing that. One of the greatest seasons you guys have had there. I think you've broken countless records. Talk a little bit about this season, man, and this team and how you guys have been able to do it in year 3.
Well, it's been kind of a crazy season because obviously all the things that are going on around that everybody has to deal with, but just personally or just for us, this is like our first recruiting class. Those guys are now juniors, and 2 of those guys, one of them last year was a first teamer. He only ended up playing about 3 games this year. He had his shoulder injury and had to have surgery. Hasn't played. He's out for the season. And then the second guy, who was second team last year, he's been great for us. He just got named first team this year. Trey King, he's our center. So, those guys that kind of started the foundation. And then you got a couple guys last year that were freshmen that are one's a starter, and Michael Marino, the guy that came up with the shot practitioner. Our backup center, we have a guy that was an academic redshirt last year that he's grown, and he was at least allowed to be a part of the program, which was huge. And then we add a couple more pieces to the puzzle, and it's like everything's starting to come together. But the way we play, we press the entire game. We play fast. On offense, we shoot a ton of threes. And when you first take over a program, no matter what your style is, it's hard to, put everything in at once. But it's that much harder when you basically have nobody on the team knows what's going on. You have seniors, but they're basically like freshmen because they can't help the younger guys with what our coverages are on defense and how to rotate in the press and what our terminology is. And now that you get to year 3, it's so much easier when the guys are teaching the older guys are teaching younger guys, or not necessarily the older guys, maybe the guys that have been in the program longer are teaching the newer guys, because we get a lot of we get JUCO transfers, we had just regular transfers, we have freshmen, we have prep school guys, we have a mixture of everything at this level. And when you get that continuity, it's so big, especially the way we play, because when you're in the press and you're thinking about the next rotation, you're probably not going to get there on time. But when you know what's going on and you got a good feel for what's going on and you're just reacting instead of thinking and doing it, it's a whole nother world. So for us, I think that's been a huge part of it. Our guys buying into what the style we play. And a lot of recruits, they love to hear, let's play fast and let's press. And they love it until we start running. Because, the conditioning that it takes is really, most guys wouldn't want to sign up for it if they knew what they were getting into. But once they get into great shape and they starting to see the results that come along with it, then they start to buy into it. So it's always good to have some of the more experienced guys to bring the younger guys along when they're getting tired and they're it's middle through the season, in the midway through the season, and they're trying to stay in shape. So those have been big things. And then as we've started to win, it's contagious. It kind of, it becomes the expected thing instead of in the first couple of years, we'd be in some close games and the guys just didn't think we were going to win. And it's just crazy how teams that don't expect to win don't win close games. And then once you do win a couple of close games, you get in that situation again and you just think you're going to win. We've won 3 overtime games this year that I don't think we would have won in the first year or even the second year. So it's been a combination of a lot of things, but it's been a lot of fun. It really has been a lot of fun this year. And we're excited about we're starting our conference tournament on Thursday night. So we're going in as a 3 seed, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I wanted to touch on. A lot of coaches during the introductory presser, they say that we're gonna play fast, we're gonna shoot a lot of threes and stuff, and then you see maybe a few months down the line they're one of the slowest teams in the nation, and they pound the paint inside. You guys actually have this implemented, and you play at one of the fastest tempos in the country, and have 10th in scoring in the nation. How does everyone kind of buy into that and make sure that this goes from a finely tuned machine as opposed to just kind of like a scattered mess, maybe?
It takes time. It takes time, but the great thing about the way we play is everybody gets a lot of shots. And, no matter who you are in basketball, you can, everybody loves to shoot the ball. And we do play really hard on defense, though, which creates more shots for us. So, when everybody gets to shoot the ball, then they don't mind putting a little extra effort in defense. And, they know after a handful of games, everybody knows I'm going to get some shots up. I don't have to force them. I don't have to this is, when you touch it, I got to do something with it and then take a shot that you're probably not going to make anyways, just because you're just trying to get a shot up. So that style of play helps. But like, and going back to our defense, we create so many extra possessions with the amount of turnovers we force. It leads to more shots. And then another thing that we really harp on a lot is offensive rebounds, which again creates more possession. So all those things go into that. And then, winning helps everything. It really does. It helps anybody buy into whether it's offense or defense or whatever it is. So we got off to a pretty good start this year, and we took Xavier to overtime, almost beat them. Had one of the best non-conference records in school history. So that really helped. And then we kind of just, took that into the conference season.
And I think one of my favorite moments that I can remember from this season, at least early on, was when you guys got off to, I think it was something like a 14-2 start. And there was this clip that was shared online with Coach Hamilton and all of you guys, dancing and celebrating things like that after, a really good start. Obviously, there's some sort of good chemistry mix that's going on with this team. It seems like everyone's kind of got their back. How does this all come together, and how do you make this all mesh?
I think it all starts with your head coach. I mean, AW he and I were roommates in college. He was a point guard, and he's always been a leader. He's always been a guy that's been able to get a group of people, whether it's on the basketball court or whenever we were hanging out or just anything. He was always, organizing people and getting people to do things together. And he just, every single day, his passion and his love that he shows the guys, it's contagious. So it all starts with him. The celebrations, he's come up with all these, like we have a wrestling belt. We give out the belt to the guy who has the best game, and the guys love it, man. They really, it's turned into something really big. I mean, that's all his idea. He's got great ideas on how to get the team to play together, but it's just, you never know when you get a win how the celebration is going to be, because some games are just like overtime wins, or it's a team that we may have lost to, and we wanted to get some revenge on them, but we don't know when we go back in there what it's going to be like. So the first couple of years, they were, the celebrations were good. They've always been great. But I think it was like last year, one time some of the guys just had water bottles, started pouring them all over AW's head when he came in. And so that's become the tradition, where it's like, it's to the point where I think our last celebration, or two of them last win or whatever it was, one of our guys literally had like a blanket he was holding up because he didn't want to get wet before we came in there. So sometimes they're dancing, sometimes they're just calm and they're just kind of like whatever. But I mean, it's awesome because the guys, they all look forward to it. And then that's when coach will take the belt and say, whoever the player of the game is, he gets the belt. And then one thing that's happened this year is usually it was like the guy with the belt would get it and he would celebrate whatever. But this year, our SID started taking the picture of whoever won the belt, and literally after the second one, two other guys just they were photobombed. They were just jumping into the picture, even though they didn't win the belt. So now it's got to the point where no matter who wins the belt, that guy will hold it up, and then the rest of the team will just kind of gather around him. And now it's always it's just those little things, those things build team chemistry more than anybody would believe, because in this day and age, our guys can't do much because they're trying to stay away from the COVID. They can't hang out together. They can't do other things off the court like they normally could, where you normally build that camaraderie, and that friendship, where that bond where you'll do anything for your teammate. But, winning and then celebrating together and just, those type of things, it's crazy how a couple of wins turn into now, we're closer and we're tighter, and now we don't care who scores more, and then we get a couple more wins. I mean, we've had so many games where we've had 6 guys in double figures. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, you touched a little bit on the players and maybe keeping them focused and things like that. How have they been able to perform when it's such an unusual season with COVID-19 going on? How have you, as a staff, tried to emphasize that and make sure everyone's kind of on the same page, and especially being mentally okay and emotionally okay, because it is a really stressful time?
I mean, we talk about it every day. One of the biggest things coach talks about is, we may bend, but we're never going to break. And whether that's just some adversity we hit in the game, or just practice, or obviously with all these things with the COVID, I mean, everybody's had a crazy schedule. we've got hit with it where different guys have got it through the year. We had to have a pause right in the middle of our conference season, and we were at, we thought we were playing pretty well. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it would affect those guys as much as it did, but especially the guys that did get COVID, it took them a long time to get back, not only get their legs back and their wind back, but just kind of get back to like their playing shape and having confidence in what they were doing. So, I mean, it's taken a toll on everybody in different ways, but it's just it's one of those things where you learn the value of mental toughness, you learn the value of concentration, and our guys, they've done a great job, but I can't sit here and say we did this, and this, and that's why we did well with it. I think it's just kind of one of those things where everybody's going through it for the first time, and you don't know how you're going to react until you have to go through it. And our guys have been unbelievable. We went on a road trip because we had games canceled. Mostly were because of us. Some of them were because of other teams. We played 7 straight road games, and we played the first one. We left, came back. And then the next, we were home so we were there it was Super Bowl Sunday, played Monday, came back late Monday night. We were home for Tuesday, and then we left that next Wednesday, and we were gone for like 13 straight days. So, I mean, it was like we were like a rock and roll band on a tour. It was unbelievable. We just kept playing road games, going to different hotels, and that you can handle it one of two ways. I mean, we were around each other a lot more. In the hotels, we watched more film together. We did more things together. We got tired of each other. Even our bus driver said something like, "Man, I'm getting tired of you guys," after, because he stayed with us the whole time. And that type of stuff happens. But that's when we kind of start. We were messing with our director of basketball operations about one day. It was also through like the snowstorm. It was like it was last week, and he was like, we ate McDonald's for lunch one day. And somebody said something about it. He's like, "Man, everything's closed. I don't know what to do." And we're like, "Man, you're really slipping, man. You don't care about your job anymore." Like, we were messing with him, but it was just like all of us were so glad to get home once we did get home. But somehow we found a way to go 5-2 on that road trip. And one of the games we lost by 20 against Southeast Missouri State or Southeast Missouri. We end up, because the schedules where we end up playing them 2 days later, both games at their place. And then we end up the second time, we beat them by 20. So that just kind of tells you how crazy it is where, number one, they beat us by 20, but I was like, I'm glad we get to play them 2 days later, because if you play them 2 weeks later, yeah, you think about the game, but it's nowhere near as fresh as it is when you play 2 days ago. And then somehow we come out and we beat them by 20. It's just, anything could happen this year because of all the things that are going on. Everything's different. You're out of your routine. Guys are tired. I mean, 7 straight road games. It was in I think it was in like 14 days. It was like 14 or 15 days, something crazy like that. I mean, it was like an NBA schedule. So, but going through that, I think that's going to help. I mean, hopefully that's going to help us going into this conference tournament, because to win it all, you got to play 3 games in 3 days. And so our guys are used to that, or hopefully that should help them with that experience. But I mean, going into it, we were like, man, we don't know what's going to happen, but we got through it. So,
yeah, last 2 things we'll end you with, Coach. So, going into the tournament, what is the mindset of the team? How do you push the buttons to get those guys to play at the level they played at when you win by 20 versus losing by 20? And then the flip side of it, recruiting wise, we haven't talked about this much on the show, but when you have a special year like this, and then guys have a chance to come back and play again and do it again for year 4, there has to be some level of excitement to think, not knowing what may happen in the transfer portal, because we all know we all have to deal with the craziness of that. But that's got to be exciting going into year 4 for a new staff, setting all the records you guys did this year and possibly having majority of these guys back if they choose to come back. So talk about those 2 things before we let you roll, because you've already done the funny story, so we don't have to do that part.
All right. Well, I mean, getting ready for the tournament, I mean, this is, I almost try to not to think about it too much, because you just get so excited. Where our AD came in today, he was like, "Man, I just wish that we could start the game right now. I just don't want to wait around. I'm just so excited about playing." And that's a great feeling. We've earned that feeling as a team from all the hard work we put in. But, the message we kind of told them today was like, guys, all of our goals are ahead of us. We're in the position we want to be. All the work we've put in is for this weekend. So, I mean, let's have 3 good practices, going into this week, let's have 3 good practices, and then let's just let it all lay out. I mean, we got to play hard, and we're going to live with the results, whatever it is, as long as we play hard. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't believe we're already into the conference tournament. It's gone by so quickly, but I've been a part of a lot of teams as a player, a lot of teams as a coach, where you're almost at the point like, man, I can't wait to get this over with. Like, thank God we're at the end of the season. I can't wait to get recruiting and just start anew. But this year, man, we just want this season to last as long as possible. And I think that should motivate guys more than anything.
Right.
Because, they gave out the conference awards today. We had 2 first teamers. We
Nice.
had we had the newcomer award. And that's coming in, but the real award that we want, like the team awards, that's still ahead of us. So, I mean, I think that's motivated our guys, and they've been great in practice this week, and they're excited. And it's almost like one of those things. I just hope they don't come out too excited. You know what I mean? And that's part of playing in the tournament, in the beginning. So, we can't wait to get that going. And on the recruiting side, yeah, it's going to be a weird year. We've never had you kind of always have years where you got to recruit your own guys back because guys could possibly transfer. But this year, everybody can come back. We have 2 seniors. So, one of them, he's probably not going to play next year. And the other one's still not sure. So it's just, a lot is up in the air, but it's just one of those things where you just, if guys transfer, they transfer. I mean, that's just part of a life in college basketball. But right now, we're just going to stay focused on, what we have in front of us, treat our guys the way we're supposed to treat them, continue to recruit them to come back here. And, when you're winning games like this, I don't know why guys, why guys would want to leave, but that's the reality of college basketball. So, you just you stick with it, and then you're watching a lot of film because you can't go see kids play. So that's going to be interesting too. I mean, we've talked about that a lot too. We're so glad that we're having a successful season. Imagine if you're in the boat where you're not winning, and you got to get 6 or 7 guys, and you can't even see them play. So right. I mean, we kind of got lucky there where this is a year where we want to keep everybody. We want to keep this team together as long as we can, and having to be this year. So we're just going to push forward with that and see what happens.
So last one I got for you, man, is so do you have to, in the offseason, do you have to be lighter on your shooting wins in order to get guys to come back? Do you have to give a few out?
No, man, I'm not, these guys know.
No
I got 2 daughters. My one daughter's she's 3, and then my other daughter's 6 months. And me and my wife my wife played in college basketball too. She's an awesome competitor. Everything we do, almost we compete, even if we're playing cards, and we're always talking trash to each other. But we've had the conversation she's like, you going to let her win? You're going to let your daughter win? I was like, no, I'm never letting her win. I don't care. I'm not letting her win. I mean, my dad never let me win at anything. And I don't think you teach them anything when you allow them to win, So, unless you think I should start doing that, Coach, that's just the way I do it.
I think you know exactly what you're doing. And you didn't let my brother, so you play college ball. My brother, you didn't let him win either. Look he's turned out to be
man. The one thing about me and JB, we're I'm the only guy that probably has knees that are as bad as his. At the age of 20, our knees were the same of a 50-year-old man,
Right.
So that's why I tried to learn how to shoot as soon as I could. But no, I miss those guys, man. We had a lot of fun at Northwestern. I transferred after 2 years, so I missed a lot of memories with those guys. But I mean, Tavares and Jason and Winston Blake and AJ. I mean, all those guys. I mean, we had one of the worst seasons ever. We were 5-25, and we lost every single game in the Big Ten. So, and we had Kevin O'Neal as our head coach. So, I mean, it was one of the worst years you could possibly imagine. I mean, I could tell you stories for days, man. I mean, I'll tell you a quick one. So we come in one day, and I'm one of the captains. As me, Tavares, and Dave Newman. And Coach pulls me in. He's like, man, we got to keep these guys going. I know we're losing. We're like, all right, he's pumping us up before practice. I walk in the locker room and literally one dude's crying. One dude's on the phone, calling his mom. He wants 4 dudes wanted to transfer that day. And I'm like, oh man, these guys that are still there. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then we kept losing, so we would start every practice with he called it a deep 6, where you have to run up and down 3 times and get it in 32 seconds. And like
Right.
there was no way our bigs were getting it. I mean, it was just it was one of the longest years of our lives, but I think it brought us close together. You know, like we just sit and tell Kevin O'Neal stories all day long. So so sometimes the bad seasons are just as memorable as the good ones, you know.
No doubt. And it definitely makes you bond closer. That or further
Oh, yeah.
apart. With those,
Yeah, one or the other, you know.
There's no in between. It's like the pandemic. You're either making babies like me and you are, or you're getting divorced.
Yeah, man. Congrats on the new
Yeah,
baby. That's awesome.
Yeah, following your footsteps, man. I can't shoot it like you, but I can make some babies.
Hey, man. Hey, look, I'll give you a discounted price. You want to come see the shop practitioner? I make house calls. You know what I mean?
Even during the pandemic. So next time we got to have you come on with Kevin in Coast to Coast, because he's a Northwestern grad right now and he loves Northwestern. So you have to tell some good Northwestern stories and talk some good Northwestern talk with him. But thanks for coming on, man. Best of luck. Enjoyed it, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, not lacking any entertainment there.
Yeah, that was really good stuff there. I mean, Eastern Kentucky's had a wonderful year to be doing what they're doing in the OVC. That's a conference that has some name brand recognition, and getting that recent win over Belmont. That's kind of like the Gonzaga of the East Coast, or at least the Appalachian region. And it's a team that plays such exciting basketball. When you can play at a top 3, top 5 tempo and actually do it well, instead of being kind of this discombobulated mess when people are turning the balls over and people are scoring the easy layups on you. To actually do it well, that's a credit to the staff and what A.W. Hamilton's doing there. So it's fun to get his perspective on things, and the whole shot practitioner thing. I really enjoy that, and it's a team that can really shoot. So if they are able to get the job done in the OVC tourney, I'm telling you, I think this is a team to watch out for in some of these March Madness brackets, because they're pretty dangerous.
Yep. Speaking of dangerous, we're going to have our very first Division II head coach on College Basketball Heat Check, really on any of our live shows, to be honest. We haven't gone the Division II ranks, but this coach is just special enough, and it's not because of his last name, and he's not related to me, but that's okay. He's still family through a close friend of both of ours, and he's coached some high-level Division I players as well. We'll talk about that, but he's got a really good team, and he's doing a tremendous job. So we're going to bring in JT Burton, head coach down south. Coach, what up, man?
What's going on, man? How you guys doing?
We're good, man. We're good. How are you doing, man? What's the latest? You guys in the tournament? What's going on? Give us an update.
Hey, man, we just won a big game against Catawba College last night, man. We won. The last previous 5 games we played them, it's been 5 points or less, and we end up winning by 23. So that's always a blessing, man, especially when you're winning. And we got the 2 seed, so they came to our spot. So, man, hey, life's good, man. Life is great, man.
Life is good. So what's next, Coach? You got the 2 seed. You got 1 win. Is there 2 left? Is there 3 left? What do we got left to go dancing?
So we got, man, we got the crosstown rivals, man, that coming into town, Carson Newman. I mean, they on the 9-game winning streak. We on a 7-game winning streak. They're the 3rd seed. We the 2nd seed. We win that game. We got to play the winner between Lenoir-Rhyne and Queens College. And the Queens College is the number 1 seed. So, we still got a lot going on, man. We're very blessed to be playing. It's like you said, the pandemic and everything. It's just it's unbelievable for us that to have the 2 seed. It's my 3rd year here.
Yeah, I love it. So we just talked to Coach about year 3. Now we're talking to you about year 3, and I've read about some of the records without knowing you. A good friend of ours. Definitely make sure whatever you're doing is spread across the internet, even if you're not spreading it. So in saying that, I've seen a lot of the successes you've already had. So talk about building a program, talk about becoming the head coach there, talk about where you were before that to become the head coach there. We know there's a guard named Javion Hamlet who happens to be good. Man. He was the player of the year last year at North Texas, and they're on their way to winning the conference title again. So talk a little bit about him as well, if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, I started off, I have a long road. I don't want to go through the whole big spiel, but I've been doing this for a long time since, I graduated from Tennessee Wesleyan, now University, in 1999. So I've been coaching college basketball the day after I graduated. That's when I started. And now, you know, I was assistant coach under of the OVC Coach of the Year, Preston Spradlin. Congratulations to him.
Yeah,
I was an assistant for him, man. Good for him. And I was assistant for 1 year, and then I left there and got this job. I was very fortunate to get this job 3 years ago in 2018. Took it over, won 16 games in the conference, and we hadn't had a winning season here in a while. Since 2008-9, and we kind of took the program and trending in the right direction. The first year, the second year, come back. Well, we finished fourth. The second year, we did the same thing with 19 wins, finished fourth with 16 wins in the conference, and then we take us to year three. Year three, you know, with the COVID situation. We've won 13 games, 13-4. We still have a long way to go, as I just described to you, man. But like I said, this place right here has been very good to me. My family's here too. You talked on the phone. You got 3 little girls. I got 2 little girls. I'm done though. I'm done. So yeah, man, it's been very blessed, man. And you know, just got to keep winning.
Yeah. So 2 seed is the highest seed since you've been there. I would imagine probably one of the highest seeds that they've had in the conference in the school's history, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, last night I learned it on the radio that we've had, well, as I was doing my interview, we've had the 2 seed twice. We was 0-2. So last night when we won, that was huge, getting that first win under a 2 seed. But you know what brings a 2 seed is everybody's after you now. It ain't like when we first started. When you get in a job like this, I know D2 people probably don't know much about it, but boy, you got to bring it. I mean, we got guys like LMU in our league. You got Queens, obviously, I just said, Carson Newman, Lenore Ryan. I mean, you got teams that's been, you know, traditionally very good. So now, you know, when you're playing like this and you come in at the 2 seed, it's no days off. You have to play. So we got the target on our back. We just got to take care of home.
So I got 2 more, and I'll let Eli take over. Division II. What would you want people to know? You've been Division I. I've been Division I. I've been Division II. My brother's a Division II head coach at the women's program, all-time winningest head coach at Texas A&M Commerce in Texas. So shout out to him. They won today. And then my wife was a Division II volleyball coach at 2 different institutions. So I'm a big fan of Division II. I met my wife when I worked at Abilene Christian for Joe Golding when it was Division II. I can keep going about D2 all day. I played D2 for a couple of years at St. Edwards. So talk about Division II as a whole, and then sneak in anything about Javion Hamlin, since he's one of the best point guards in the country, and you happen to know him a little bit.
Well, I'm going to talk about Javion Hamlin first, because Javion is one of those kids, man, when he first came to me at Motlow State, that's why I coached him. And Javion came to me, and he was a kid that, you know, how I got him was a crazy story. 2 weeks before school started, kid had nowhere. He didn't want to go to some of the places he visit. And he chose to come to Motlow, flip the program. We won 30 games and lost 6 of them. And he ended up being the MVP of the league. We won the conference tournament and took us out to Hutch. And I like to tell, I used to joke with him all the time that Javion hadn't been for me, you wouldn't be at North Texas. You know what I mean? So, but the one thing about, you know, talk about D2. D2 is a very, very good level, because I've been at every level. I've coached at NAI, I've coached at JUCO, and now I'm obviously at D2. D2 is a level that it's unbelievable the way these kids can take and make shots, bad shots, on a consistent basis. And that's one of the things I've learned with D2. And you got some very, very good coaches at this level as well. You got guys that can really, that's been at the highest level, to come back, and they know how to, you know, put schemes and do different things that you got to be on your toes with. And the recruiting. Now that with the pandemic, things have changed. You got kids coming back, but you got a lot of people leaving as well. So we are able to get some high level players to come at this level. And that's also changed the landscape of D2 since I've been here. And the way that these guys, the biggest thing is, though, the way these guys take and make bad shots, it's unbelievable.
And with you taking over the head coaching role here, and you've obviously done your work as an assistant coach and getting that and building up your program. What is it like now, having the keys to the car and being able to do things your way and call the shots?
Well, it's pretty good, man. I mean, because Eli, I've been a head coach. I've been very fortunate being a head coach for a while. I was assistant under Preston Spradlin, like I said, and I learned a lot. But being the head coach, you can call your own shots, especially if you got a family. You can do whatever, but you can spend a lot of time with them. But the thing is, you can control your own destiny, and you can help young people. And that's one of the biggest things I like to do is helping these young guys become men, especially if they come to Tusculum with us. And being a head coach and being able to lead young men, being able to kind of write your own script, it's really good.
And with that, you mentioned getting talent from different parts of the country, especially right now during COVID-19. That's a big challenge for a lot of coaches. What is it that maybe you do to try to market the program, to bring in talent and bring in guys who want to compete and want to win at the D2 level?
Hey, this has been a blessing to us as far because we don't have a lot of money to go out there and recruit. So it's an even playing field where D2 can get out now. But with these Division I not been able to get out, you can get out, see some kids, or when nobody can recruit. This is what we've been doing, Zooming, calling, not bringing people on campus. So it's kind of been that we've used it as something to help us because this is what we've been doing my entire career. So, when it comes to recruiting, we recruit all over. Don't matter. We got foreign kids. We got kids from out west, down south, up north. It doesn't matter. So with the pandemic, we've used it as a good thing because, like I said, nobody else can, these other guys, you hear them talk about using Zooms and getting players and using phone calls. Well, we've been doing this the entire time. So it's been great for us. I hope they ever Division I can't go out until late July.
One of the things that I've always been fascinated with is we've had so many coaches on this show from different parts of the country at different levels, from the ACC, the OVC, like different conferences and things like that. It seems like a lot of coaches like to try to implement different things that people are doing, whether it's Tony Bennett and his Virginia defense, or whether it's the Miami Heat or the Lakers or things like that. How much of, maybe implementing different things that you see on TV or that you watch in film, how much do you maybe gather from different teams and different coaching philosophies that you try to bring to your program?
That's a good question, man. I try to do that a lot. I mean, sometimes you can't get caught up in the NBA. A lot of people do that because, NBA and especially D2 basketball, Division I college basketball is totally different. But I'll come up off of Donnie Tyndall. I mean, I run the matchup zone that he ran. And it's been very, very good for me. Fortunately, I've ran it my entire career until this year. This team right here, everything's changed. We're a better man-to-man team. But you asked that question. Yeah, I get on. I love to watch Michigan State and Tom Izzo because he runs a lot of set. He does a lot of different things that I like to do, and especially with the bigs because I'm a traditional big guy, and we have one to step out and shoot it. Tom Izzo is one, and then it's crazy. I turn on the television. I'm just watching Kentucky play Ole Miss at the start of that game. You get different things that they run because you got these guys out here been coaching as long as I've been living, and these guys are geniuses. So I try to, dip, dab, and grab a few things that help. Coach Barnes up at UT, I've some of the things that he's done. But the biggest thing is the zone, the matchup zone. I learned that when I was at the University of Tennessee with Donnie Tyndall.
You mentioned a little bit about, getting good guys and having players who can kind of buy in. How do you identify that? How do you find the right players who, you can relate with and you can trust them and kind of, make sure that they're taking care of business in the classroom, making sure that they're being accountable on the floor and things like that? How does that all come together?
Well, I got a good staff. My assistants do a really good job of recruiting. But what we do is we try to find guys that fit what we want to do. And when we sit down and talk to players, or we're recruiting guys, we see how they act in certain situations. We talk to the players to the coaches about how they act in the off the court. And we even, if we can, we'll talk to some teachers just to see, what they say about how they interact when they're in the classroom. Do they turn their homework in time? And we try to do those little things to try to, because here we got to do things different. It's not your traditional place. And I've always built my success off of hard work. And we need kids that's going to come in and be ready to work all the time. And when we recruiting kids, they have to know that classroom is number one. You have to graduate. If I can get a degree, a master's degree, they can. So when we go recruiting with kids, man, we try to dig into, the family life, try to get to know them, build a personal relationship and see where they come from, and then see how they, do things on the court and off the court.
What would you say is maybe the long-term vision of the program now that you've settled in, you guys are having success now? What do you see maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the road?
I mean, just like anybody, you want to win a national championship, but we got to get over that first hurdle first, and that's winning the conference number one, the regular season, and then you try to win the conference tournament, which we in route to doing now, and then you try to win a national championship. I mean, that's anybody's goal. I think we can do it here. I mean, we're on the right track. We're on a fast track. I mean, we've won since we've been here, and the biggest thing is trying to get the right kids, to, like you just said, to get in here to do so.
And, you know, one of the things that I think a lot of people have had success with, think about some of the players who have transitioned from D1 to D2 to D1 basketball and had a lot of success. I know Duncan Robinson's a player who I'm sure a lot of guys look up to as a guy who kind of, you know, was overlooked, and he transferred to Michigan, and now he's having great success in the NBA. Do you get the sense that you're in a position where if a player is having great success, you try to market them and you try to promote them to further their goals and push them to the next level?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a kid, Donald Donaldson, who's overseas, you know, doing very well. Big sons, you know. So with that being said, yeah, you trying to get those kids. You can luck up and get a guy. I mean, in this league at this level, you might not find an NBA player all the time. You know, a lot like the Division I schools do, but you can find some guys that go overseas and make good money and be a lifers overseas. And that's the guys we try to get. I mean, you try to get guys that come in, especially transfers, the older guys that's been at the Division I level. If you could find one that's been there as a freshman and they come in your program for 3 years, now 4 with the pandemic, you have a chance to build a kid like that. You know, now at this level, finding a pro NBA basketball player is tough, but they're out there. But the biggest thing is you can find a kid that can go overseas and make a good living.
Well, sorry, Brian, are you going to go ahead?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask. I'm curious to get your perspective on this before I transition back to Brian. What is maybe something that you really appreciate about D2 basketball that people may not know, or just something behind the scenes that you really like and you enjoy about this level of basketball? Because there's still a lot of talent at this level, and even though it might not be on ESPN every night or what have you, there's some really talented guys who can play really good basketball.
Like as I said before, the one thing that blows my mind about this level is the way guys take and make bad shots, as I like to call them. But the one thing I like about it is the smallness of it. You go in these gyms, and some of these gyms are really, really small. But boy, it seems like they can only hold probably 1,000. Like ours probably hold 1,700. But if you pack that gym, it's going to seem like it's 2,000 or 3,000, maybe 10,000 people in there. So that's one of the sweet things about Division II basketball, because, you know, it's a small, it's not, you don't go in these huge arenas. Some of these places have, you know, 5,000 or 6,000 seat arenas, but most of them, for the most part, are small. When you go in there, you know, I always one that comes in my mind is Lenoir-Rhyne or Anderson University. You go in there, and that place is unbelievable. Not very. Know that.
Coach, what's a funny story you can share with us, man? And now you can make this about. So we have a good friend, Jareem Dallin. He makes sure people know he's a conference champ at North Texas.
Yes.
So I think it's only right, almost, if you have a funny story about him. As good as he is, I think he would appreciate that.
When Jareem,
so for those that don't know, he recruited Javion Hamlet, who is the player of the year last year, on his way to possibly being player of the year again 2 times, and just an incredible person on top of that, and a winner all the way through. So he recruited him. I'm sure he was down there plenty, bugging you and wearing you out. I know when they won the championship last year, he has his phone kind of making a funny comment, a picture of him looking at his phone like, oh, coach is, you know, he making a funny comment about you. So it's time for you to get him back. He's always trying to get everybody else. It's your turn to get him back.
Now, first of all, Dream is a great guy. He's a really good friend of mine. But
no doubt.
One thing about it, me and Dream and I was traveling to Southern Miss when he was assistant there. And if you know Dream very well, Dream don't like for you to pass gas in his car at all or around him. He's even made his prep school team run for doing it in the van. So he and I is driving down the road, and it's a long ride, and I let one go, and that dude, I thought he was gonna kill me. He tried to put me out of the car. And I was like, Dream, like, come on, like, I mean, it's not, I mean, we don't stop to eat bad when you're traveling. And that guy right there, boy, I thought he was going to have to. He was so mad. And you got to know Dream, because he goes crazy. And I know it's kind of like, it was wild, man. But another funny story, man. One time I went to, I was coaching in AI, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And you know how it is, small college, you driving vans everywhere you go.
Right.
So we was up in Indiana, and I was the school I was coaching out of Kentucky, St. Catherine. And we pull up, I forgot my suit. So I didn't let my assistants know we driving vans, thank God. The girls are playing before us. So I go to Walmart, a local Walmart. So I go grabbing clothes, I put together a nice suit, cheap. So I wear a 9.5. So I go grab some shoes because I left it all. And the shoes on the box, it says 9.5. Well, when I got back, I didn't even think about it. So I go get my clothes on, and I'm doing my little routine. I put my shoes on. Guys, they're size 13.
Oh, wow.
Now, during that time, so you got to know my family. I come from a huge family, okay? My uncle, my brothers all travel with me. I'm one of 10. So they come in the gym, and I know. I mean, my uncle and my brothers walk. I'm just like, what do you have on? And the shoes ain't long, man. So my sisters made fun of me. My players made fun of me, but we won. And yeah, man, that was rough. That was a long day that day, man.
I was gonna say, it's the stomping during the game on the sideline, probably not quite the same.
Hey, my feet were scared up in the shoes, trying to keep them on, man. And they were, it was unbelievable.
So it was like an and one. It was like a basket and a foul because you got the win, Coach.
Yes. It was big time, man. We got the win, and we was able to win. But them shoes at that time was huge.
I love it. So NAI head coach you've been, JUCO head coach, Division II head coach. What's it like? And you've done it. You've already climbed these levels, right?
Yep.
Do you have? I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Do you have? Most guys have an aspiration to continue to move and climb. So without putting you on the spot, like you don't appreciate your job, we know you do.
Yes.
But when you get this thing turned even more, you've already done a tremendous job. When you make the next jump, tournament, championships, cutting down nets, we've seen guys like Grant McCaslin, who we just talked about, who was the head coach at North Texas. We've seen Chris Beard when he was at Angelo State and McMurray. There's plenty of guys who have been at that level. There's got to be an aspiration. We talked to Chris Crutchfield, who used to be Division I assistant at a bunch of high majors, and now he's at East Central in Oklahoma. There's got to be a little bit of a burning desire to say, man, I can do this against the best. So what is that like as a guy who is in that seat, if I may ask and put you on the spot without any disrespect to your career?
No, first of all, my school, I got a great school. I got a great boss, Doug Jones. He's an AD here, and he knows, man. I've always, since I've been a little kid, want to be a high major Division I head coach. I mean, my road is going to be a little different from a lot of people. It's been a little longer. I'm a little, up in age, 40 plus. I ain't going to say, that's it. But I want to be a Division I head coach at some point. I mean, I think I can, but you got to take care of your place first. Like I said, Chris Beard, those other guys like that, they've all won at the places they was at. So I got to take care of business here, and maybe I can get something else.
Yep, absolutely. I love it. So we'll let you in with anything you got for us, Coach. We know you're in the middle of competing in the conference tournament. We know you're in year 3, continuing to build something special there, having fun doing it, killing people with the matchup zone. But now you got the man-to-man. They don't know what to do. You're changing up on them. Anything you got for us to go, Coach? We'll let you have it.
Thank you guys, man. I really appreciate you having me on, me being the first. You know what I mean? I hope it was fun. I hope you guys learned a little bit. Dream Dowling. He's a good dude. He's helped me, man. Thank you. I know we ain't got a relationship now. We can build something, man. If I could ever help you guys with anything, please let me know. But I can't say I was the first ever. And Dream's he's gonna wear me out with that. Just let's call it. He's gonna wear me out with that one now. And so with that being said, man, now thank you guys, man. I know that you guys have these big, and I don't have the hair like Coach Lepore either. Had it either.
Yeah.
My hair is not like his. His stuff was slicked back. It was
it's
nice.
tight though, Coach.
It
I will
was
say
tight.
it's tight. It's
Yeah,
tight.
his hair looked good. I mean, like I ain't got the coaching hair. I just got to try to have the fade.
Coach, you look like you're fresh out the chair though. You do look like you're on
Yeah,
point.
it's 48 hours old, but I'll take that, man. But, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's really nice, man, to get Tusculum out there, man, and to be the first D2 head coach, man. There's plenty more out there better than me, man. And if you go talk to them, I'm pretty sure you'll find them.
Yeah, so two things. One, we love your last name. We got to say that. Even though we're not related, you got the right last name. And then one last pitch to anyone who may listen to this later, or your video guy, or your assistant, Coach Ferg, who we know well, will go back and chop this up and put it in a recruiting Zoom video. What is the recruiting pitch to your university before we let you go?
You come to Tusculum, man. Tusculum is a place where not only you become a better basketball player, but you're going to become a better person. I mean, here we try to build character. We try to build you, make you become a better man. So Tusculum University, I mean, it's not a lot of people's not heard of us before, but we're getting on the map. You come here, you'll get a quality education, and you'll be a better person when you walk out the door.
Love it, Coach. Well, thanks so much, man. We appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the way, and go cut down those nets, Coach.
All right, man. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Okay. Yeah, all done, man. We've done it. Definitely got a heat check. I think it's hot as can be. Can't get any hotter. Had some great guests, some great comedy, some great stories, and some great insights. So we let Eli close up the show, and always can find us at All Access Net. You always can find the YouTube channel, All Access Network, as well. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button, share, like, all that good stuff. You can find us on Twitter. We will let Eli close the show with the recap of what we heard today.
Yeah, well, first with JT, it's really cool getting the D2 perspective and seeing what that's like. And a lot of these guys, they come from humble beginnings and they make the most of their opportunity, and those are always the best stories, right? And the teams that he mentioned, I don't know if a lot of people watching are familiar with these teams. Queens took down some D1 programs this year. Lenmore Ryan has played a lot of D1 teams in non-conference play. The separation between Division I basketball and Division II basketball, even though D2 isn't getting a ton of love from the national perspective, and a lot of these guys haven't been heard of, the separation isn't as big as we might think. And it's cool to have some marketing and some publicity for those guys who are doing a really good job. And we wish the best luck to him. But overall, another really fun show going coast to coast, going from West Coast, talking about Big West basketball and WCC and what those guys are doing out there, and going over to the OVC. A lot of great perspectives. It is crunch time in college basketball, and that is the best time for us viewers. And, the coaches, the excitement level is at an all-time high to make things happen. And it's going to be a great month, and I'm excited to see how this all unfolds. We have no clue how it will unfold, but I know that we're all just grateful that this opportunity is here and everyone's staying safe and staying healthy, and we're going to get a chance to watch March Madness unfold, and that's just – it doesn't get much better than that.
No doubt. I'm curious, too, if you got any tips. If Eli picks up tips up from Steve Lepore about his hair, I'm just curious. Are you inspired or not inspired? That's
of course. Of course.
How can you not be?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think we all kind of aspire to not only have the hair, but also having the social media handles like that. I mean, he's kind of checking all the boxes. So that's pretty special. Yeah.
That's elite right there. We'll have to have him back. But thanks so much for tuning in. Eli, as always, pleasure. We'll do it again soon. Hopefully next week. You never know with all this baby stuff. It gets pretty wild. But it's March Madness in my household as well. God bless everyone out there. Best of success in March to all the teams. And we will be in touch soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.